posse up.
What is cowboy action shooting?
Cowboy action shooting is a shooting discipline based on the guns of the Old West. The days of Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. We dress, for the most part, in period-accurate clothing. Spurs and chaps. It's full competition, shooting steel targets with lead bullets.
Sounds like a blast.
It is literally a blast every time.
These are some very competitive shooters. Some top shooters in the world.
Now, everyone has an alias, right?
Correct.
A cowboy name.
My name is George Mann, and my alias in cowboy action shooting is Angus McNasty.
My alias is High Cotton Kitty.
Pony James.
Sassy Hammer.
Ray was known as Doc R. Green.
And how about Danny? What was her name?
Danny Oakley. She was Danny Oakley.
Like Annie Oakley.
Yeah, like Annie Oakley.
I taught them how to do cowboy action shooting. Danny was more proficient, more driven and focused. Ray, he was there just for the fun. Ray was funny.
You looked at him and you see cowboy.
Put him on your horse and reins, right?
Yeah.
She was just the all-American type cowgirl, and she had the long pigtails. They seemed like, to me, the perfect couple, but you never know what's going on in a relationship.
Well, there was problems in the marriage, especially financial issues.
They had money, and then they lost everything.
The Sheriff's Department had received a call to investigate a complaint, and it was in regard to the residence of Ray Green and Danielle Green.
Danny said that her dog killed Ray.
We drove back through the barns, and as I got closer to the trailer, I observed multiple police cars, different agencies. And there were probably 15 guys that were out moving about the property.
And what were they doing?
They were looking for Ray Green.
She was sitting in a lawn chair. She said she had given consent to search for Ray and that she did not know where he was. She said, "You can search anywhere you want except for that box."
On May 28, 2014, police were called to this remote piece of property in Dillsboro, Indiana, the home of Danny and Ray Green.
I need to get some information on my son.
The Sheriff's Department had received a call from Ray's 84-year-old mother, Betty.
My daughter-in-law called this morning and said he was killed yesterday by a German Shepherd dog. The dog jumped up and grabbed his throat.
Danny had called other family and friends too, saying it was Jazzy, the couple's own pet, who had attacked Ray. Police drove out to check, but when they arrived, neither Ray nor Jazzy could be seen, and they say Danny seemed to be just going about her day.
She's interested in feeding her horses and just engaged in conversation like nothing else is going on.
Prosecutor Aaron Nagengard says Danny then gave an entirely different story, saying Ray, who sometimes worked as a truck driver, was out on the road.
The problem with that, there was a big truck in the property. The officers were suspicious that something was up. So the officers pinged his phone, and his phone came back to that piece of property.
And there was this, that padlocked toolbox sitting on the property. Danny refused to let anyone open it, so authorities set off to get a search warrant.
My grandmother had called me at work and told me that Danielle had said that the dog killed him.
Tracy Abbott is Ray's daughter with his first wife, Maggie.
Animals like him. How can a dog kill him?
Tracy remembers her father's special way with all kinds of animals growing up on their 200-acre San Antonio ranch.
My dad was a real cowboy.
Ray began his career riding bulls and bareback broncos. He served 2 tours in Vietnam, but it was the simple country life where he felt most at home.
He always wore his cowboy hat and boots. He never went anywhere without them.
Ray was a renowned horse breeder and trainer.
Had he developed a successful business?
Yes, he did. We had like 70-something horses.
Friends like Dave War remember Ray as a real straight shooter.
When you shook his hand, you knew you were shaking a man's hand. He was very powerful and very strong.
Bob Stevens, another friend of Ray's, remembers a time when Ray captured a 12-foot alligator with his own 2 hands.
We contacted animal control. They set up traps, and this gator was so big it would break the traps. Ray trapped it himself and put it in the barn.
Tracy says her parents, Ray and Maggie, had a loving relationship.
They were best friends. They known each other. My mom was 6 and he was 11. We were a close-knit family.
But that all ended in May of 2002 when Maggie was killed in a bridge collapse in Oklahoma. She was on her way home from a barrel race with her horses.
A barge slammed into a bridge along Interstate 40, plunging nearly a dozen vehicles 75 feet into the water. Among the dead, horse trainer Maggie Green.
Ray, who had called Maggie his Rose, was left devastated.
He kept saying, "I miss my Rose. I miss my Rose." His light went out.
A lawsuit was filed on behalf of the victims. As a result, the Green family received a large sum of money.
There was a pretty big settlement that he had gotten, a little over $1 million.
When did Danielle come into your father's life?
Abruptly. She came in the picture maybe 2 months after my mother died.
Danielle, who went by Danny, was a longtime client of Ray's. A skilled horsewoman herself, Danny hired Ray back in 1996 to train her horses. Soon after Maggie's death, Tracy says, a newly divorced Danny started hanging around the ranch every day.
Ray didn't chase her. She came into Ray's life and, said the things that Ray wanted to hear. So that blossomed into a relationship.
Danny, 22 years younger than Ray, seemed to provide the companionship he needed after losing his wife and helped him move on.
They took a vacation and came back married. I was happy that he was happy.
But Tracy was not happy with Danny.
She would come out wearing my mother's cowboy hats and her nice cowboy boots and some of my mom's jewelry.
After Danny solidified her place in Ray's life, she set her sights on her equestrian dreams.
Her goal in life was to get into the Olympics in dressage. So she did some research, and ground zero for dressage in the Olympics was Palm Beach County.
The newlyweds decided to move to Florida, using the $1 million settlement from Maggie's death.
This was the property owned by Ray and Danielle Green. They owned this 5-acre lot and the 5-acre lot to the east of us.
The house was near the stables where Danny could train.
The U.S. trials for the Olympics were held in Deer Run, and she wanted to be a part of that.
And was she talented?
She was very talented. Ray built her a workout room in the house that she'd get up at 5 o'clock and she'd spend all day just doing horse trainings. She would be on the horses from sunup to sundown.
And when she wasn't in the saddle, they discovered that fun and unusual hobby.
After Danny and Ray got married and moved here to Florida, they got interested in cowboy action shooting. Part target competition, part costume fun, they would travel to events like this one.
Howdy, y'all having a good morning? Yeah! All right, start off with the pledge.
Don Owen runs the event.
I pledge allegiance to the flag. We have competitors from every walks of life. We have attorneys, we have surgeons, we have electricians. The people are what makes it.
Danny Oakley and Doc R. Green were both beloved here.
They were a huge part of the family, an amazing cowboy. Great part of our family.
These big matches are like a reunion. It's fun to see everybody again and catch up.
Friends Karen and Jerry O'Clair say Danny was a natural.
Put it on your horse and reins, right?
Yeah.
And she quickly became the top shooter at the club.
She really could handle a gun.
Oh, yeah. And at the time, I was the top shooter of the club, and she just soared right by me.
She wanted to win.
Life in Florida seemed like a winning proposition for both Danny and Ray. But that was about to change.
This is like a little piece of heaven. It's quiet, surrounded by woods.
Bob Stevens says Danny and Ray's neighborhood near West Palm Beach had become a perfect refuge when they arrived in 2004.
All these houses were designed so you couldn't see a neighbor's house. It has 22 miles of horse trails that don't intersect with any roads.
After the Dow dropped 18% last week and the S&P 500...
But the dream died in 2008 when the economy collapsed.
It was just devastating for Ray. The horsing market fell apart, dressage fell apart. They were using the second mortgage to pay the first mortgage, and it was just a disaster.
For a while, Danny and Ray struggled to keep up their lifestyle, still attending their cowboy action shooting matches, but now trying to make a bit of money on the side, off the livestock they kept at the ranch.
The chickens would lay eggs, and she would bring eggs for everybody. People would buy the eggs.
Danny and Ray caught a break when they were hired by their own neighborhood to become landscapers.
Had the contract to take care of the right-of-ways, mow the grass, take care of the ditches.
Did you get any sense that Danny felt like that was a real step down in their lives, that he's now cutting grass?
I don't think so. I don't think she was like that. She was not materialistic. She was not status-driven.
Ray's daughter, Tracy, disagrees.
I believe that the only reason why she wanted to marry my father was for his money.
Tracy didn't know her father had lost all his money. After he moved to Florida, Tracy mysteriously couldn't reach him.
He would ask me, "How come you never call me? I miss you."
Turns out Ray and Danny shared a single cell phone, and Danny blocked Tracy's number.
I got this message saying, "This phone is no longer taking calls from this number." She had blocked my emails and letters. I sent him a certified Christmas card with pictures of his grandbabies, and it came back denied.
Why would she do that? That seems cruel.
Very cruel. It really broke my heart not to have my father in my life anymore. But that was her way of keeping all the money to herself.
The money, now all gone. The $1 million settlement Ray received after Tracy's mother was killed in that bridge collapse.
To lose my mother the way I did, and then now being separated from my father, it was very heartbreaking.
Heartbreak spilled over to Danny's side of the family as well. While she'd achieved some success on the local horse show scene, her Olympic dreams remained elusive. Then in 2012, Danny received devastating news from her Indiana family home.
Both of her parents were terminally ill.
They both had cancer at the same time.
Yes.
I think she felt that that was her place to go up and take care of them. And besides, there was no place for them down here anymore.
So Danny and Ray sold their Florida property at a big loss. With the landscaping contract their only source of income, Ray stayed behind, mowing grass and living with a friend. Dave War remembers the day Danny headed north.
Ray had asked a couple of his friends to come over and help them load some of the big items out of their house into a moving van. He had misplaced the box that had his personal items in it.
Dave says Ray asked Danny if she'd seen the box.
And she went off on him, berating him, belittling him in front of everybody. I made the comment to my friend, this comment haunts me to this day. It wouldn't surprise me if she doesn't kill him one day.
Dave says Ray's paychecks got sent directly to Danny back home in Indiana.
I've seen him literally live off of cold cereal. He would make a meal out of bread and water if he had to, because he had no money to live.
There was one bright spot during this troubled time. Tracy was able to reestablish a relationship with her father, who at last got his own cell phone.
We finally got to talk almost every day. We were able to finally have a relationship again.
Bob Stevens gave Ray a special gift, an airplane ticket and the chance to reconnect with his family in Texas.
I gave him the trip on his birthday, and he flew out there, and he had a great time with his daughter and granddaughters.
I felt like I could not let him go. I just would hug him forever. And happy tears, 'cause I was so glad to see him.
In 2013, both of Danny's parents passed away, and Ray's landscaping contract expired. Danny was poised to come into an inheritance.
The parents owned 300 acres up in a mountain. There was 3 children. They were each going to get 100 acres. It had a farmhouse on it that needed to be renovated.
So Ray moved to Indiana and joined Danny, living in a trailer on the large property.
She was in control anytime she's around my father, so moving back to be with her, I felt I was never going to hear from him again.
Danny planned on running the property as a horse farm. Ray found work as well.
Ray decided to get his trucker's license so they would have a form of steady income.
By the end of 2013, Ray and Danny were together again, but they were about to break apart, at least on paper.
He qualified for Social Security with his first wife, who died in the bridge accident.
Ray would be able to collect Social Security as Maggie's widower, but he'd have to divorce Danny to do it.
So they got divorced for more income.
Not that he didn't want to be with his wife anymore, but to get Social Security money.
Yes.
In the spring of 2014, Ray and Danny had started a new chapter together in Indiana. But it all ended with that shocking message to family and friends.
Danny said that her dog killed Ray.
In May 2014, Ray Green's mother, Betty, made that call to an Indiana Sheriff's Department near Dillsboro, saying she'd heard the strangest story from Danny.
The dog killed my son yesterday, a German Shepherd dog. Why would she call me with such a story if it didn't happen?
When police arrived, neither Ray nor Jazzy could be found. That set off some red flags.
State detectives were called in after local police concluded there was something not quite right with this remote Indiana property. What started out as a missing person wellness check would soon become something far worse.
As an all-out search got underway, detectives say Danny cooperated fully, except for that one thing.
She said, you can search anywhere you want except for that box.
That box being this box.
One of those big toolboxes that you put in the back of a truck.
Large, made of metal, sitting several yards away from the entrance to Ray and Danny's trailer.
She said it was Ray's box and she couldn't give consent for anyone to look in it.
It had a padlock on it, but it wasn't completely closed on one end. And there were flies, and then there was an odor of decay.
Within hours, Baxter and Tressler obtained a search warrant for the box. When it was opened, Ray Green was found dead inside it. Detectives returned to Danny, telling her they were done with their search.
And when you told her we found him, how does she react?
She really had no reaction. She was like, okay.
That's when detectives say Danny's story of what happened to Ray changed yet again, now saying she'd been forced to shoot Ray dead 2 days before in self-defense.
She began to explain that there were instances of abuse, that this had began in Florida, wound up here.
She kind of quickly glossed over the actual shooting of Ray and went right to why she had to do it.
The detectives recorded an interview with Danny on the property. She told them Ray had been physically abusive for years and tried to force sex on her several times in the days leading up to the shooting.
He walked around naked, slept naked, walked around naked all the time. He's pulling me to him. He's like, let's go lay down. He's trying to force himself on me. I don't want this, but I don't know what to do.
She claimed Ray retaliated each time she refused him.
He'd come up behind me and put his arm around my neck, and he was squeezing me incredibly hard. I couldn't breathe.
Danny told the detective she slept on the living room couch, alone. That led to another confrontation.
He came in and he laid right on top of me. He had his forearm pressed against my neck, pushing on me, and I was like, what are you doing? I'm kind of gasping for air, and he's like, I just wanted to hug you. You don't hug people with your arm in their throat like that.
Danny said it all led up to a fatal clash early on Monday, May 26, Memorial Day. 3 days later, she went on tape with investigators, offering a unique demonstration in a calm, matter-of-fact way.
I'm just going to play the role of Ray.
So you've offered to place your body in various positions as she takes us through what happened.
Yes.
I had come in the bathroom. It was...
Danny says it was around 6 a.m. She just used the bathroom off the master bedroom and was headed back to the couch.
So I'm tiptoeing and I'm being really quiet, and Ray gets up from the bed and he says, I'm going to kill you. You need to die.
Danny says Ray kept a loaded .38 on the nightstand. She says he started to reach for the gun.
I grabbed the gun and I took his shoulder like this, and I grabbed him like this and tried to get him off balance and threw him on the bed like this. He fell more on his right side, actually totally on his right side. His legs were up, and as I fell on him like this, my hand, I don't know if you can see, my hand was like this.
At that moment, Danny shot Ray 5 times. He took 5 bullets to the torso.
And I don't remember pulling the trigger. I don't remember pointing. I don't remember hearing gunshots, but...
Danny says the struggle continued.
He started sliding down the bed, and his legs were here on this side of the bed, facing the wall.
Sitting?
Yes. And then I got really scared because he said, I'm going to kill you. But he's whispering.
That's when Danny says she ran to the back bedroom of the trailer and grabbed 5 more bullets.
And I unloaded the gun, and I said, what do I do? I'm scared to death. I'm in fear for my life.
She returned to Ray, who she says somehow was still sitting upright at the foot of the bed.
And he started to kind of crouch over and lean towards me. So I put my hand out, and he started to get up a little bit, but I don't remember pulling the trigger and hearing the gun, but I remember him going down.
Danny says Ray collapsed on the bedroom floor, dead. 5 bullets in the head.
She reenacted every step of that morning in the location where it occurred to the detectives.
Delmar Weldon is Danny's attorney.
That is incredibly compelling evidence that she was telling the truth. The volcano that exploded on those early morning hours. And that's what led to Raymond attacking Danielle, and that's what forced Danielle to use lethal force to protect herself.
As a cowboy action shooter, Danny Green learned to quickly shoot 5 rounds. Reload and shoot 5 more. A skill she put to use on that remote mountaintop in Indiana on May 26, 2014. Detectives confirmed her father's death to Tracy, telling her Ray's body had been found in that toolbox.
My heart was in pieces. And I just prayed that he didn't suffer.
8 days after the shooting, after the medical examiner ruled Ray Green's death a homicide, Danny was arrested and charged with his murder. An autopsy found that all 10 bullets, the lower velocity kind used in cowboy action shooter competitions, were still in his body.
It was a shock. It blew me away. Because they're, two good people in my mind.
Word of Ray's death quickly spread in the cowboy action shooter family, including Dave War.
Well, Ray was more than just a shooter. I mean, he was a personal friend of mine.
It was pretty devastating.
What state of mind she was in that led her to do that, who knows?
This man, Delmar Weldon, believes he knows Weldon is Danny's defense attorney.
Danielle was attacked. She was in danger.
I'm in fear for my life.
She had to act to save her own life.
Unloaded, then reloaded.
Weldon says it's clear from just looking at the tape.
I remember seeing blood.
Danny cooperated with investigators.
And did not appear to be breathing.
Recreating what happened that morning, proving she had nothing to hide.
Her description of what happened really never changed. It was very, very, very consistent. Compelling evidence that she was telling the truth.
And what about Danny's changing stories of where Ray was?
Saying the dog killed him, saying he's at work when clearly he's not. Having him in a box feet away from their home. These actions were so ridiculous. They were not evidence of trying to hide the crime, they were evidence of trauma.
But investigators disagreed. They combed through Danny's emails, texts, and Skype conversations and concluded she may have had another man in her sights, a well-heeled cowboy action shooter that she and Ray knew quite well.
My name is George Mann, and my alias in cowboy action shooting is Angus McNasty.
George Mann had known the Greens for years, but when Danny moved to Indiana in 2012 to help take care of her sick parents, she started a secret internet relationship with George, who was married at the time.
And one day out of the blue, I get an email. We ended up calling, and we just kind of clicked off.
Investigators learned that George and Danny communicated nearly every day, sometimes multiple times a day.
It wasn't X-rated explicit, it was sexually suggestive.
Curled up by a fire under a blanket with nothing on underneath the blanket, sipping on hot chocolate. Can you top that? And you replied, Nothing can top that. Wish I were there.
Well, you have to understand, attractive women, I tend to be a little bit more flirtatious than I should be.
Even though George had never traveled to Indiana to visit Danny, the investigative team wondered if the two had fallen in love online and whether that relationship played any role in Danny's decision to shoot her husband.
Do you think a part of you was in love with Danny?
No. I mean, Danny is a nice person. In love with Danny? No, I don't think so.
And I recall asking him specifically about his feelings for her. And he admitted in his own words that he loved her.
That he loved Danielle?
Yes.
George says Danny dreamed of leaving Ray and raising and selling horses in Ocala, Florida.
In early 2014, Danny and Ray divorced. Did you know that was coming?
I knew that was coming, yes. She saw that as a way to get away from Ray eventually. She wanted a new life without Ray.
So the motive is she needed to get rid of Ray because he was standing in the way of her dream. She believed George Mann was the person who would help her fulfill her dreams.
I say he made that up. Well, I'm just going to say it. It's a complete lie.
When investigators searched Danny's computer, they believe they found evidence that she was using Google to research how she would kill Ray.
What happens when you shoot a guy in the head with a .38, which was pretty damning considering she shot a guy in the head with a .38.
She's on a remote property. You're a mile from the nearest person. No one's going to hear you scream. So we were talking about self-defense. She was doing research on things that we had discussed.
As Danny Green's trial for murder was about to begin, her defense team finds a witness who could be a game changer, someone they believe will back up her claim that Ray had physically abused her.
Did you ever witness anything out of the ordinary when you delivered mail?
I mean, other than her wearing a sling occasionally, limping at times, black eyes, yes.
We're speaking now with a woman we're going to call Carol. Tell me about when you learned that Ray Green had died and had been shot by Danny.
He got what he deserved.
This woman, whose face and name 48 Hours has agreed to conceal, claims she is certain Ray physically abused Danny in Florida.
How did you know Ray and Danny?
I delivered their mail.
Carol and Danny became friendly over the years.
She was a gentle person that loved her animals.
Carol says Danny never told her that Ray was abusing her, but Carol saw the injuries on Danny's face.
I saw 3 to 4 different times when she had the black eyes.
And did you see bruises in other places?
You couldn't see the bruises because she was so covered up.
Carol found it unusual that despite Florida's high heat and humidity, Danny covered every inch of her body.
She would try to tell me that she had fallen or that one of the horses had done it.
What were you thinking?
That she was being abused physically.
And the Ray Green Carol got to know was not the gentle cowboy described by others.
I asked him to sign something. He told me no. He said, go see Danny, and he called me a bitch. So from that point on, I avoided him.
George Mann, Danny's online friend, says she once told him that Ray had attacked her.
They had an argument in Florida, and he grabbed her and threw her against the wall. I think she truly feared Ray.
But other friends who were close to the couple say they never witnessed any signs of abuse.
I never seen any personality trait that would show me that Ray was an abusive husband at all. No black eyes or bruises or anything.
But what about Danny covering every inch of her body with clothing? Bob Stevens, who is working on a book about the case, says he knows why.
She was very, very worried about sun damage and cancer. I know from a fact that she wore long sleeve shirts to protect her from the sun.
In August of 2015, Danny's murder trial began at the Ohio County, Indiana courthouse. No cameras were allowed in the courtroom.
We have some of the key pieces of evidence. You have the revolver, it's a .38, which was the weapon that was used.
Prosecutor Aaron Nagengard says some of the bullets fired passed through this blanket before striking Ray.
There were 3 bullet holes, and this one actually went in there and out here. It showed that he was sleeping at the time.
And that's significant because she is claiming self-defense.
Correct.
But Danny's attorney, Delmar Weldon, says the blanket tells a very different story.
It wouldn't be uncommon for someone to get out of bed and have a blanket around them.
I think that'd be highly unusual. He's about to attack her. He was lunging toward her, wrapped in a heavy blanket.
Danielle said exactly what happened.
I remember him going down
Onto the floor
with his head in this area.
What Danny didn't tell police was that she cut out a piece of carpet from the trailer floor.
There's clear blood here.
And put it in the toolbox where Ray's body was found.
How is it self-defense if you're cutting carpet out, putting a body in the box, and trying to destroy or hide evidence?
And if Danny killed in self-defense, why didn't she call 911 after shooting Ray 10 times?
To second guess the things that happen in a moment like that, this life or death moment, it is very unfair to say, why wouldn't you do this? She believed that he could come back and get her, even after he was obviously dead.
Like some horror movie, rise from the dead and come after her?
She was living in a horror movie.
Carol, the mail carrier, gave a deposition that was read to jurors, but investigators said they found no evidence supporting Danny's claims of abuse.
Do you have any proof whatsoever, beyond your belief, that he actually laid a fist on her face?
No.
Danny never took the stand, but jurors watched her version of what happened on that deadly morning.
I'm in fear for my life.
After 2 weeks of testimony, the jury got the case, and deliberations stretched on for 8 hours.
So they come in. What's the verdict?
Guilty.
Danny Green was convicted of murder and sentenced to 60 years in prison.
I believe the jury got it wrong. I believe that Danielle Green is innocent.
And do you think justice was served?
By him being killed, yes. By her being in prison, no.
The nicest man that would do anything for anyone suffered execution style. She was a monster.
Jazzy, the family dog, who Danny once said attacked and killed Ray, has never been found. Dave War's world, without his friend Ray, is just not the same.
I think you go through life with very few true friends. There's a big void in that circle that'll never be replaced.
How do you want your father to be remembered?
A wonderful, loving, caring man. A great grandfather. He was a great husband to my mother.
Ray and his first wife, Maggie, both died on May 26th, exactly 12 years apart. Bob Stevens thinks that's more than just a coincidence.
A message from God. I think it was a sign from God that they're back together.
48 hours. To miss it would be a crime.
Were you at all prepared for what happened in this case?
I love his smile. He has a beautiful smile. And look at his eyes, they just sparkle. My name is Sharon Krausnick, and I'm Jim's wife. I've been his wife for 23 years. These were beautiful, happy days before this whole nightmare started.
Nearly 40 years have passed since Brighton resident Kathleen Krozenak was found murdered in her own home. Now prosecutors say Krozenak's then-husband committed the crime.
That's Jim as a young man.
So this is Jim's first wife, Kathy.
Yes, it is. You can see Jim and Kathy, so obvious they love one another.
It was one of the most horrific crimes that we've seen in Rochester.
She looked like she was just lying there on her right side sleeping.
It does not appear that she ever saw this coming, that she ever woke up.
The case is known as the Brighton axe murder. This is the axe that was found in Kathy's head at the time that Mr. Krausnick came home.
Her 3.5-year-old daughter was there throughout the day with her mom dead in the bed.
How soon did Jim Krausnick become the suspect in his wife's murder?
Oh, I think within 24 hours.
They felt that there just wasn't enough evidence to charge him at that point.
They went through the years thinking, we're going to get something.
It just went cold.
The case has been unsolved for 40 years. I think that people, they just want to know what happened.
James Krausnick will stand trial later this year for the murder of his wife in their Brighton home nearly 40 years ago.
No other physical evidence at the scene points to anyone other than James Krausnick.
Basically, it became, who else could it be?
They were so focused on Jim.
If Jim Krausnick did not kill his wife, who did?
Larrabee. Early on, police learned about this fellow who was living not far from the crime scene.
This evil, evil, evil man that lived so close to Kathy and Jim.
He hated women.
Well, he was a one-man crime wave. He was a psychopath.
They ignored him.
I have absolutely no doubt that James Krausnick killed Kathy Krausnick that morning.
So you're saying that this man, who had never shown any sign of violence before and never shows any violence after, snaps one night in his life and puts an axe in his wife's head?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jim is a decent, loving human being. There is no way Jim would ever have done anything like that.
James Krausnick just doesn't look like an axe murderer.
No, but Ted Bundy didn't look like a serial killer.
I did not murder Kathy.
On a wintry night near Rochester, New York, retired detective Mark Liberatore is showing us how he helped bring one of the coldest cases in America to trial. On February 19, 1982, police officers arrived at this home. Which direction was her bedroom?
Right over here to the right.
And encountered a horrific scene.
Their bed was on this wall.
The body of a 29-year-old mother, Kathy Krausnick, dead in bed with an axe lodged in her head.
It was a single blow to the head, and she died instantly, according to the medical examiner.
Jim Krausnick told police he arrived home from work and found his wife's body. His 3.5-year-old daughter, Sarah, was there and unharmed. Minutes later, he showed up at his neighbor's house, seemingly traumatized with Sarah in his arms. The neighbor called 911.
Her husband's here and he can't even talk.
After Jim told her, he thought Kathy was dead.
Okay, there's someone right over there.
Dispatch immediately sent first responders. Brighton Police Lieutenant Bill Flood arrived to get a statement from Krausnick.
He was moaning, he was crying.
Krausnick, a Kodak Company economist, said he'd left for work that morning at the usual time, around 6:30. He said he had been gone all day. Kathy had planned to stay home to take care of Sarah.
You could tell that the little girl had been left alone. It looked obvious to us that she had dressed herself.
It seemed obvious to Detective Flood that Sarah was confused about what had happened. Sarah said she had seen a bad man sleeping in Mommy and Daddy's bed with an axe in his head. Asked if the man was black or white, she said he was many colors. But Flood thinks Sarah hadn't seen a man at all, that it was her mother in bed covered with blood.
And what does a 3.5-year-old do?
Gary Craig reports for the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle.
You know, the murder in and of itself is baffling and hard to believe, but you add this element where Kathy's daughter has been left in the house with her murdered mother. It's inconceivable that somebody could do that.
Liberatore and his partner Steve Hunt of Brighton PD say the first investigators at the scene found no significant forensic clues like fibers or fingerprints. And in 1982, DNA had not yet become an investigative tool. But there was something about the scene that struck them immediately. It looked like someone had pushed the pause button on a burglary.
And there was a door leading into the house that had a pane of glass broken out. And there was a maul, which is like a heavier axe, on the ground leaning up against the wall right next to that.
The axe found at the door and the one in Kathy's head both belonged to the Krausnicks. In the dining room, there were valuable items scattered.
And on the floor was Kathy's purse with the contents strewn about.
There was a tea set on the floor, too.
Everything was standing straight up like it was set there neatly.
And a black garbage bag next to it. Inside was a faint shoe print, as if someone had stepped in it to hold it open. But despite many apparent signs of a burglary, Liberatore and Hunt say the most important one was missing.
Nothing was taken.
There's an officer involved in this case from the 1980s who hits the nail on the head. We in Brighton do not handle a lot of homicides. We do handle a lot of burglaries. And this was not a burglary.
Investigators suspected the burglary was simply staged to cover up the real crime, Kathy's murder. And they began to focus on her husband.
Let's face it, I mean, more often than not, it's the husband, it's domestic, so police are going to go there.
But could Jim Krausnick have committed such a brutal murder and left his baby daughter alone in that house? We spoke to friends and family who said the couple had seemed happy. Kathy and Jim had grown up in the same small town in Michigan, but on opposite sides of the tracks. Kathy's father was a trucker. Jim's owned a successful carpet store. They met in high school, began dating in college, and married after graduation.
It was a fancy wedding.
Kathy's cousin Susie was just a kid.
Like a princess wedding kind of deal.
Jim was pursuing an economics degree in Colorado when they had Sarah in 1978.
She was just so excited about her daughter, just so excited about her.
Kathy Krausnick's friend, Kathy Behe,
And you can tell how beautiful she is.
says she was a warm soul who lived for love. but remembers feeling that the last time they saw each other, just 6 months before the murder, something just didn't seem right.
Not the vivacious Kathy that I remembered.
What was the next thing you heard?
I got a call from my sister, and she told me about Kathy being murdered.
If Kathy and Jim were having trouble, they kept it to themselves. But police grew suspicious when they discovered a pamphlet in the couple's car that offered services including marriage counseling. And there was more. When they went to Kodak, they learned that Jim Krausnick had gotten his job under false pretenses, claiming to have a PhD when he never actually completed the program. There was also Krausnick's behavior. Newspaper reporter Gary Craig says initially he was cooperative.
He was willing early on to give statements.
Krausnick had spoken to investigators that night and the next morning, even agreeing to another meeting that afternoon. But when the time came,
he was gone.
Less than 24 hours after he found his wife murdered.
Yes.
Krausnick's parents had driven from Michigan and returned there with Jim and Sarah. Police say Jim left town without telling them.
I wouldn't consider it normal, but this is America, and he's free to do so.
When Rochester authorities followed them to Michigan, Krausnick continued answering their questions and even provided hair and blood samples. 10 days after the murder, he hired a lawyer. By this point, police were focused squarely on Jim Krausnick, but they had a problem. They needed to establish exactly when the murder had happened. Had Jim even been at home at the time? Remember, he told police he left for work at about 6:30 a.m.
Back in 1982, the time of death gave a very broad range. The science was that you really could not pinpoint.
Autopsy findings reportedly narrowed the time of death to between 4:30 a.m. and as late as 7:30 a.m., an hour after Krausnick claimed to have left the house. With no direct evidence against him, nor any clear motive, authorities didn't want to try their luck with a jury. The investigation went cold.
No one was ever charged with a crime.
Krausnick and Sarah eventually moved out west. He would briefly wed twice more before marrying his current wife, Sharon, 23 years ago, never dreaming that his past would come looking for him.
We were in the bedroom. It was about 9 or 9:30 in the morning. We heard the doorbell ring.
In 1997, Sharon James ran into Jim Krausnick, an old friend, at a trade show when sparks flew.
And he asked me out, and from then on, for 2 years, we dated.
They both lived near Seattle. Krausnick and his daughter Sarah had moved there 10 years earlier, but couldn't leave the past behind.
He was devastated with the death of Kathy.
Sharon says he told her about Kathy's 1982 murder, but didn't offer details.
And I didn't want to pry because he would start getting emotional.
What was it that made you fall in love with him?
Jim is so honest. He's so loving. I wanted to be a part of his family.
They married in 1999. You like to spend a lot of time together?
Oh, absolutely.
As the years rolled by, Sharon had no idea that more than 2,000 miles away in Rochester, New York, someone else would set her sights on Jim Krausnick. Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Dorley.
Kathy really needed to have justice.
In 2015, the FBI provided resources to help Brighton police with their investigation.
I mean, you look at all those boxes of paperwork and evidence, it's daunting.
Detectives Mark Libertor and Steve Hunt of the Brighton PD took the lead, and poring over the file, they too became convinced the evidence pointed to one person, Jim Krausnick. So on April 16, 2016,
we were just having a lazy Saturday morning, and then all of a sudden the doorbell rang.
Hi, Mark Libertor. How are you?
You wanted to surprise us.
Absolutely.
Probably a little bit surprised why we're here.
Did Jim at that point think, maybe I better call a lawyer?
No, not at all.
On the contrary, she says her husband welcomed them in and allowed them to record the conversation.
Hopefully you get some good news. We just want to kind of revamp everything, go through everything again with you.
She says they sat around the kitchen table talking for more than an hour.
They said, we think we know who killed Kathy and we need your help. In that type of a tone.
I'm sure you think about this, who could possibly have done this?
For a long time.
But then, Sharon says, Detectives Libertor and Hunt suddenly turned up the heat.
Did you have anything to do with this?
I didn't kill Kathy.
I disagree.
Well,
I think you did.
You could see his heart pounding through his shirt.
That would be a very scary thing, that somebody's accusing you of killing someone.
I would say scary if you did it.
Was that the first time then you started hearing details of what happened to Kathy?
Yes.
Sharon says it also was the first time she had heard any suggestion that her husband was involved. Did you ever ask him point blank?
No, I didn't. I didn't have to.
You didn't have to know?
No, I know he did not murder his wife.
Sharon, how can you be so sure? You only have Jim's word for it.
No, when you're married to a man, you know his heart and you know his soul. Jim could never, Aaron, never in this world do something so horrific.
You know, somebody listening to you would say, you sound a little naive. Didn't you have some doubts? Didn't you want to know more?
You can call me naive, I suppose.
But she insists that no one who has known Jim Krausnick as well as she has, for as long as she has, could possibly have doubts.
No, I'm not going to question him. I don't doubt for a moment he was innocent.
But the detectives still hope to find what investigators 40 years ago were never able to find, a smoking gun that tied Jim Krausnick to the Brighton Axe murder.
You have to remember, back in 1982, there was no such thing as DNA testing. So my first thought was, what can we test? Are we going to find someone else's DNA on any item within the home?
We sent the evidence from 82 back to the FBI lab.
The results? There was no DNA evidence that directly tied Krausnick to the crime, but none tying anyone else to the murder either. And although DNA evidence can degrade over time,
the most important thing was finding the absence of someone else's DNA within that home.
But to charge Jim Krausnick, they wanted to prove his wife had died before he had gone to work. Jim claimed to have left the house at around 6:30 a.m., and Kathy had been fine.
We need a definitive time of death.
Back in 1982, the medical examiner was unable to narrow the time of death enough, and since then, other experts have agreed with her. In 2018, prosecutors turned to Dr. Michael Baden. For over 50 years, Baden, a forensic pathologist, has been hired to work on a who's who of whodunit cases, from the assassination of JFK
Baden testified that a single bullet struck the president's back,
to the reported suicide of disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, often raising eyebrows and generating controversy. In this case, using the same file from 1982, Baden said in his analysis it appeared Kathy died at about 3:30 a.m. That would be hours before Jim Krausnick said he left for work that day.
Some people may say that we're looking for an opinion.
That you were just looking for somebody who would pick a time of death that was before Krausnick left the house in order to secure an indictment.
Absolutely.
But if, in fact, Dr. Baden had agreed with the other medical examiners, would you have hired him?
Absolutely not.
Armed with Dr. Baden's opinion on Kathy's time of death, along with what they believe is evidence of a staged burglary. Prosecutors went before a grand jury. Jim Krausnick was indicted on November 1st, 2019. He voluntarily surrendered to authorities a week later. Do you have any doubt about Jim Krausnick's guilt in his wife's murder?
I have absolutely no doubt.
None.
None whatsoever.
But Jim Krausnick's attorneys say there's a mountain of doubt in this case because Jim Krausnick is not the Brighton axe murderer.
There was someone who could be responsible for it.
A serial predator had been living in the neighborhood who actually confessed to killing Kathy.
There really is no evidence that Jim Krausnick killed his wife.
Attorneys Bill Easton and Michael Wolford are trying to save James Krausnick.
He is the most reserved, humble, gentle person.
A man both believe had zero motive for murder.
They had a wonderful relationship. They had a wonderful family.
And so his lawyers insist that February 19, 1982 was a typical morning in a home defined by love until a stranger slipped in and took it all away.
Jim Krausnick went to work. Someone came in and killed Kathy Krausnick. We think that someone was Ed Larrabee.
Ed Larrabee, a monster just down the road.
He was just a violent son of a gun and terrible, terrible human being.
From Rochester's back streets to New York's toughest prisons, Ed Larrabee had a reputation and record as a violent sexual predator.
Larrabee hunted women. He was a psychopath.
Before dying in prison in 2014, Larrabee was locked up for a total of 32 years on charges that ultimately included attempted murder, robbery, and his sixth specialty, rape. But all too often, Larrabee was released back on the streets.
And every time he was free, he would rape again. He liked to laugh at women and humiliate them.
You probably know as much about Ed Larrabee as anyone.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
Rachel Rear wrote Catch the Sparrow, a harrowing story painfully close to home.
It's about the murder of my stepsister in 1991.
27-year-old Stephanie Kopczynski was a music teacher and violinist when her life tragically intersected with Ed Larrabee's.
It's mind-boggling to me that he was ever free.
In 1991, freshly paroled after serving a sentence for robbery, Larrabee had come back to the suburbs of Rochester, his familiar hunting ground.
He got the job at Newcastle apartment complex, which is where my stepsister lived. Larrabee himself said that they were foolish to hire him.
It wasn't long before Stephanie went missing.
It was like she evaporated.
Stephanie Kopczynski's death rattled many when she disappeared from her apartment in 1991. Her remains found 7 years later.
The remains of Stephanie Kopczynski lay scattered in a shallow stream bed. She had been strangled. More than a dozen years later, Larrabee, by then convicted of other crimes and back in prison, admitted he was her killer. What made him confess to Stephanie's murder?
What ultimately made him confess was that he was dying.
Larrabee, who was suffering from ALS, came up with a bucket list of a dying man. Pizza, sandwiches, and he was angling for an agreement to be buried off prison grounds. So in 2012, Ed Larrabee confessed.
He went into Stephanie's apartment, and then she screamed, and then he choked her, and she died, and he confessed to killing her.
But Ed Larrabee didn't stop with Stephanie Kopczynski.
Once he confessed to Stephanie's murder and realized that he could get things in exchange for confession, all of a sudden, then he started wheeling and dealing and making more deals.
Ed Larrabee contacted the FBI claiming he was a serial killer, and one of the victims he listed was a Rochester housewife murdered on a February morning in 1982, 29-year-old Kathy Krausnick.
Larrabee lived very close by, and she was someone that he was going to prey on.
The idea that decades earlier Ed Larrabee might have murdered Kathy doesn't come as a surprise to investigators and those who know him best.
Everybody from back in that time frame is familiar with Ed.
He would have been out of prison at the time that Kathy was killed.
Free, violent, and just down the road. Police went to question him shortly after Kathy's murder, but Ed Larrabee wasn't talking back then. They filed their report and then backed off.
And is it fair to say the police dropped the ball in that case? Because you've got a sexual predator within minutes of the house and they don't do anything more than visit him once?
Oh, I think it's very fair to say that. To have apparently ignored Ed Larrabee in 1982, whether he did or didn't do it, is clearly was just a major lapse in the investigation.
I don't know that I'd use the phrase drop the ball. And unfortunately, the officer and the sergeant who approved that report are both deceased.
Still, the FBI and detectives Liberatore and Hunt don't believe Ed Larrabee murdered Kathy.
He was a bad man. He was.
That's one way to put it.
He's a bad man, but he's not our bad man.
This is a guy who has a long history of hurting women, and he's confessing to killing Kathy Krausnick.
Yeah, but his confession was way off base.
Why are you so sure it's not Edward Larrabee?
Because his confession didn't match up to the facts. As simple as that.
Larrabee said Kathy had dark hair when in fact she was blonde, that she was heavyset when she wasn't. Even Rachel Rear, who knows all too well the damage Larrabee can do, doesn't believe he killed Kathy.
To me, I was like, it's not his MO. I don't think he was a serial killer. He's a serial rapist.
After 4 decades of dead ends, law enforcement was convinced that James Krausnick, not Ed Larrabee, wielded that bloody axe.
This man is an innocent man. He has been treated so unjust.
But come 2022, James Krausnick, successful businessman and father, headed to trial. The 40-year-old murder case could hinge on mere minutes, and prosecutors proving that Krausnick was home when Kathy was killed.
You look at the evidence, it's clear. She was killed in her sleep.
After 4 decades, as James Krausnick finally came to trial, prosecutors were betting on Michael Baden, that forensic pathologist they had engaged, and his theory of when Kathy most likely died, about 3:30 a.m.
Well, they needed a Dr. Baden who said basically that it happened at 3:30 in the morning. That was different than any other medical examiner that was involved in this case.
One of them was Catherine Maloney, a forensic pathologist who would testify for the defense, something she had seldom done before.
Can you pinpoint the actual time of death?
No, oh my goodness, I wish I could. The best you're gonna do is a window of several hours.
Dr. Maloney thinks it's possible Kathy could have died much later in the day.
I mean, so you're saying that Dr. Baden is wrong?
I disagree with him. I think he's wrong. I think she likely died sometime between like 5 a.m. and 1 p.m.
Timing of the death seemed crucial. If Kathy was murdered in the dead of night before Jim Krausnick went to work, then prosecutors say her killer wasn't an intruder. It had to be her husband.
In opening statements today for the James Krausnick trial,
The stage was set for a gruesome drama in search of its final act.
What makes this case so unique is it happened over 40 years ago.
Over those decades, hearts have been broken, relationships shattered.
Really, how would you describe the last 40 years on your family?
It's been a terrible, it's just god awful. And
Cousin Susie Jakumovich witnessed the shift in Kathy's now 95-year-old father, Bob Schlosser, who today believes Krausnick is a killer, but for years was certain his son-in-law was innocent.
I just didn't think that he would do such a thing.
I mean, had there ever been a real serious problem in their marriage that anybody had heard of?
No, not that I knew of.
But investigators believe the marriage was secretly crumbling.
He snapped, is what we believe. He just snapped.
People look at Jim Krausnick. He just doesn't look like an axe murderer.
What's the axe murder look like?
Bob believes that over time, Krausnick began separating Sarah from her mother's family, the child who was home when her mother was murdered.
We didn't see Sarah anymore.
Not only was Kathy taken away, Sarah was taken away.
Sarah's a grown woman now, firmly standing by her dad, as sure that he's innocent as prosecutors Constance Patterson and Patrick Gallagher are certain he's Kathy's killer.
No doubt at all.
Absolutely no doubt in my mind.
But as the trial moved forward, lawyers on both sides confessed that they had a daunting challenge: time itself.
Dealing with memory issues, dealing with deceased witnesses.
Witnesses can't recall what happened 40 years ago.
So investigators pursued evidence that didn't rely on the frailties of memory. They homed in on the physical crime scene.
I wanted to not only prove that Kathy was clearly killed in the early morning hours, but also prove that it was a staged burglary.
There's a lot of questions and things just didn't make sense.
Authorities argued the scene was staged by someone who had no idea what a burglary looked like.
The house wasn't ransacked.
In fact, there was cash on the dresser in the room where Kathy was killed that wasn't taken.
The broken glass, the seemingly precise placing of that maul.
They wanted us to believe that the maul was used to break that pane of glass.
That silver tea set, barely disturbed.
And when you looked at the pieces that don't fit, the reason they don't fit is because it was a staged burglary.
Then there was that faint shoe print investigators found inside this garbage bag. Prosecutors thought the print told a story.
The only way that gets in there is when the bag is being opened, when items are being placed in that bag.
And somebody is putting their foot on there so they can hold it open?
So you're stepping on the edge of that bag, holding one edge, and you're placing that silver in the bag.
Investigators say the print was from special footwear, a boat shoe.
And why boat shoe?
And so there's a picture in that bedroom where you can see next to the bed, you can see these boat shoes.
And whose shoes are those?
And those are James Krausnick's shoes.
He's a boat shoe wearing guy, and we don't have murderers running around in February in the wintertime wearing boat shoes and killing people.
But the shoes Krausnick wore back then were not tested to see if they were a match. And his lawyers say it's not just the wrong theory, it's the wrong man. They say it's Ed Larrabee, that career criminal, who before he died had confessed to killing Kathy.
He lives 4-minute walk away.
But there's the problem of Larrabee's M.O. Remember, he was a repeat sex offender.
Was there any sign that Kathy had been sexually assaulted or that she had had any contact at all with her killer?
None whatsoever.
Do you believe that there was tunnel vision in this investigation?
I think it would almost be the dictionary definition of tunnel vision. There was this overwhelming urge and desire to solve the crime, and it had to be Jim Krausnick.
I know he did it. I know it was him.
Come closing statements, cameras were allowed into the courtroom as lawyers made their final pleas.
The mystery of Kathy Krausnick's death remains to this day, and we submit it has not been resolved by this trial.
Common sense tells you this was a staged burglary. Those are the only reasonable inferences that can be drawn from this case.
There are no eyewitnesses. There are no ear witnesses. There is no direct evidence. That was the case 40 years ago, and that's the case now.
But Gallagher reminded the jury of that timestamp, 3:30 a.m., that pathologist Michael Baden put as Kathy's possible time of death.
Common sense tells you she died early that morning.
As we said at the outset, there is no new evidence, simply a new opinion by Dr. Baden. We don't think that cuts it.
40 years after that awful day, the case would now go to a jury.
Were you worried?
I was worried, yes. And Jim being the husband, and that's being the typical fall guy, the husband must have done it. I was very fearful.
Jim Krausnick's fate will be determined by 12 strangers.
They want to hold someone accountable for this. I was very fearful.
Because it's Sharon and Sarah's future as well.
On Friday night, the jury hadn't finished their deliberations, and I was so thankful. I thought, oh, give us this weekend.
Did you think this could be the last weekend you could spend with him?
I think deep down I probably did.
Altogether, it takes the jury less than 10 hours of deliberations.
The foreperson, please rise.
To reach a verdict.
Guilty.
Jim Krausnick is guilty of second-degree murder.
I remember standing up, but I saw this one deputy across from me, and I said, oh, please let me hug my husband. He said, no, I can't.
We got our justice. For 40 years, thank God we got it.
He's innocent.
Unfortunately, there is a presumption of guilt. If the husband is living in the home and the wife is killed, he's almost presumed guilty.
Defense attorney Mike Wolford says that Jim Krausnick was convicted because of who he was, not what he did.
I think there was a gut reaction on the part of the jurors that, well, he probably did it.
But the jurors we spoke to insisted they decided this case on the evidence. Evidence they admit had divided them at the start.
I just kept thinking someone else really could have done this.
The forensics did not point to anybody else.
The first time they voted, we were told 6 said guilty, 3 not guilty, 3 undecided.
The most important thing to me was the staged burglary scene.
They said that stage scene was a critical clue, and there was something else they seemed to agree on, that in the end, it was impossible to say exactly when Kathy died.
We threw out all of that testimony. It meant nothing to us.
But their verdict means everything to Krausnick's heartbroken daughter, Sarah, who tells the judge at sentencing it adds insult to deep injury.
I've been blessed with the most extraordinary parents. Sadly, they have both been taken from my life. My mother's killer got away with her murder, and my father's life has been taken by a failed justice system that convicted him of a crime he did not commit.
But Sarah's grandfather, Kathy's father, wants to make sure Jim Krausnick spends the rest of his life paying for her death.
And Jim, I hope you live to be 100 years old and enjoy your new home.
And finally, it's up to Jim Krausnick himself to take one last opportunity to address the court.
To this day, it's still very difficult for me to talk about the circumstances that surrounded her death. All I see is Kathy with an axe in her head and Sarah standing in the hallway, disheveled, with an empty and distant look on her face. I did not murder Kathy. I love Kathy with all my heart and with all my soul.
The judge is unmoved, giving the 71-year-old Krausnick 25 years to life behind bars. Before his own life is over, there's one more thing Kathy's father wants to do. For decades, Kathy has been buried in Jim's family plot.
I want to move my daughter's remains where her mother and brother are.
But to move her, Bob Schlosser needs Sarah to agree, and that may never happen. Sarah and Sharon continue to support Jim.
You're going to stand by him no matter what?
Oh, absolutely.
Sharon Krausnick rejects the possibility that her husband has permanently traded his golden years for the hardened metal of a prison cell.
We have a lot of hope. We have a lot of faith. This is not our retirement. This is a hiccup. This is just a pause.
And Krausnick's lawyers say that forcing him to defend a 40-year-old case violated his constitutional right to a fair trial.
Are you worried at all about that? If an appellate court ruled in favor of Jim Krausnick and said that his rights have been violated, then it would all be for nothing.
It wouldn't all be for nothing. Kathy's story was able to be told, and that family was able to get justice. Justice has been done for Kathy.
"48 Hours. Don't miss an episode."
Witness takes the stand in the trial of Patrick Frazee.
Investigators believe Patrick Frazee killed Kelsey Barrett in her townhome on Thanksgiving last year.
Day 2 of the murder trial for the man who allegedly killed his fiancée.
Today, day 7 of the trial, investigators revealed the moments they found
surveillance video of Kelsey Barrett and her 1-year-old daughter at a Woodland Park supermarket is the last anyone's seen of the 29-year-old mother.
If convicted, Frazee could face life in prison.
We can certainly sense that we are in the final days of this trial, and it is certainly...
Cripple Creek is a small town. Teller County is a small county.
We're up in like a minute.
They have never seen anything to this magnitude. In Cripple Creek, Ashley Franco, KKTV 11 News.
You've covered every second of this trial. What has the feeling been inside that courtroom?
It's been cold, it's been very heavy and chilling. During the first week, we learned about some of the evidence in the case. Crystal Lee, Patrick Frazee's ex-girlfriend, is set to be the prosecution's star witness.
Okay, it's 11:15, again on the 21st of December 2018. We're inside Kelsey's apartment with Crystal.
You are seeing what the jury saw. Remarkable evidence, the heart of the prosecution's case.
When you came in, what did you see?
When I first walked in, I saw blood all over the floor. I saw blood up the wall.
Who is Crystal Lee?
Crystal Lee is a rodeo queen from Idaho. She's very well known. And she's Patrick Frazee's ex-girlfriend. They'd known each other for over a decade. She's the bread and butter to this case.
That's Crystal Lee wearing a police jacket and hat.
Can you point to the area where you saw and clean blood up on the wall?
She admits to cleaning up the crime scene and tells the prosecution the whole entire story of what happened.
The spray was from here all the way.
She's the only person in the world that they have to possibly convict Patrick Frazee.
We did a deal with the devil. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it in this case.
This one?
But it's a deal that we made in order to move this case forward and to solve this crime. Sometimes in order to solve a case or move a case forward, we have to give a deal to the devil. That's exactly what we did here.
Did you say that you cleaned off some of the appliances?
I did. I wiped there was blood on the front of the dishwasher. There was blood on the front of the stove.
Crystal Lee was obviously the star witness for the prosecution, and she testified to things that the prosecution needed her to say in order to establish this case. I'm Aya Gruber. I'm a professor of law at University of Colorado Law School. I think there were doubts about Crystal Lee's testimony coming into it. Crystal Lee has trafficked in lies. Crystal Lee is saying he has been planning on killing Kelsey, and he had called me multiple times about it. There's poison coffee. There's a baseball bat, scented candles, a blindfold, phones that are pinging all over Colorado and in Idaho.
I got to tell you, it's one of the most emotional trials I've ever been through, and I've been through a lot of trials. The roller coaster everybody was put on, there wasn't anybody on this team that at some point didn't have tears running down their face.
We just got word that a verdict has been reached in the case against Patrick Frazee.
Tell them try to take it. We're the only ones out here.
There's always a little bit of nervousness and question in the back of your mind.
Just hours ago, we were hearing closing statements, and now we have a verdict.
Patrick Frazee sits in this grim Cripple Creek, Colorado jail, put here by his former girlfriend, Crystal Lee.
There's blood on the wall here. There's blood on the wall here. And there was blood right here.
In disturbing evidence that you will see throughout the program tonight, she tells her story about a crime scene cleanup.
I moved the couch. I wiped the couch off. There was blood behind the couch down the wall.
A plan to transport a body.
We brought the tote here. Okay. We unloaded the tote.
And her help in making sure there would be no trace of it left behind.
The things that were thrown into the fire by me were the belongings from Kelsey's house, the curtains, the pillows, the stuffed animals.
The tale begins when these haunting images were captured. A mother in the grocery store shopping with her baby. Thanksgiving Day, 2018, the last time Kelsey Barrett was seen in public.
She's not the kind that runs off. This is completely out of character.
It was Cheryl Barrett who reported her 29-year-old daughter missing after trying to reach her for days.
Kelsey, we just want you home. Call us if you can, and we won't quit looking.
At that time, in early December, Woodland Park Police had not publicly named a suspect.
We are treating Kelsey's disappearance as a missing persons case at this time.
You can't eat and you can't sleep, and the stress won't end until we find her.
Usually it was us four all together all the time.
Ashley Cogburn, Amanda Smith, and Nicole Haywood had an unbreakable bond with Kelsey. They grew up together in Moses Lake, Washington.
From the pictures, she's gorgeous, obviously, and very put together. And so you might think that she's, this prissy girl, but she was not. She was raised on a hay farm and very much a tomboy.
Country girl.
Yeah, she's out there driving tractors and bucking bales.
In flying planes, she was a flight instructor.
She a good pilot?
Oh, yeah. She was really good. She wasn't afraid to challenge the typical boundaries.
So it wasn't a surprise when a Colorado cowboy named Patrick Frazee caught Kelsey's eye on a dating website in 2016.
He was
like a country boy, and that's what she was used to. That's what she liked.
They started a long-distance relationship. Patrick Frazee lived on a 35-acre ranch in rural Florissant, Colorado.
These are 4 dogs. They'll be our dogs to train this fall and winter.
In this video, Patrick can be heard training cattle dogs.
Pepper, that'll do. Down.
He also shoed horses and groomed donkeys.
The black and white one is Flash.
Clint Klein has known Patrick for 7 years.
Patrick is the farrier for the donkeys. People call them horseshoers and all that, but our donkeys don't have shoes.
So he trims their feet?
He trims their feet. He gives them, as we call it, donkey manicures.
Klein says Patrick was quiet and dedicated to his work.
He's kind of laid back, kind of stays to himself. He had his ranch to take care of.
Eventually, Kelsey moved to Colorado from Washington State to be closer to Patrick, and they were expecting a child. Her mother, Cheryl, says they were engaged.
Does she have a dress yet? No. I don't think she cared about the big wedding kind of thing. It was between them and God.
Even after their daughter Kaylee was born in October 2017, the couple still didn't live together but shared parenting duties.
He never came to see her, but she would, on her days off, she would go back and be with him.
Friends say Kelsey was struggling to balance the baby, her job, and a long commute. Her relationship with Patrick seemed strained.
She seemed to be kind of stressed out from the whole thing, that she couldn't make him happy.
Was Patrick emotionally abusive?
It appeared that way from what I saw, and it seemed like it was just knocking her spirit down.
Did Kelsey ever say he was physically abusive?
No.
Ashley says Kelsey once mentioned there may have been another woman in Patrick's life.
I think Kelsey had mentioned one time about an ex-girlfriend who still kind of wanted to be with Patrick. Kelsey wasn't worried about it. I don't know if it's because she knew she lived far away. Kelsey didn't seem all that worried about it.
After Kelsey was reported missing, police talked to Patrick. He told them that the day before Thanksgiving, Kelsey said she wanted to end their relationship. KKTV reporter Ashley Franco.
He said that Kelsey wanted to go their separate ways and things weren't working out between them. They wanted to split custody 50-50, and they were just not meshing anymore.
Patrick told police he and Kelsey met to exchange the baby on Thanksgiving Day. He also returned Kelsey's belongings.
A purse, keys to the car, keys to the townhome, and then a gun that Kelsey owned.
It was a gun Patrick says he had once taken from Kelsey for her own protection. Police say Patrick told them Kelsey struggled with depression, hinting that she may be suicidal.
When you hear that Patrick said Kelsey was unstable, that she was maybe suicidal.
No,
not at all.
It doesn't match up with Kelsey.
Police searched Kelsey's home but turned up no signs of foul play. Then Cheryl and her son went to the house to check it out.
There was a mat, like a rug of some sort in the bathroom, and it's gone. And she had also noticed that the refrigerator looked like it had been wiped down recently. You could see streaks. Later, her son is in the bathroom and notices blood on the base of the toilet.
And the alarms go off in their minds.
Alarms go off.
Kelsey's mother, Cheryl, alerted investigators who returned to the house. This time, they used chemicals to detect the presence of blood.
They found trace amounts of blood everywhere in the bathroom.
Do we know whose blood?
DNA results showed it was Kelsey's.
Investigators believed Kelsey had been murdered, but they needed more evidence. A closer look at Kelsey and her fiancé's cell phone activity Thanksgiving weekend would lead them to her suspected killer.
Patrick Frazee was taken into custody this morning in Florissant, Colorado, just after 7 o'clock this morning, Mountain Standard Time.
Nearly a month after Kelsey Barrett vanished, Woodland Park Police Chief Miles DeYoung made this grim announcement.
Today we arrested Patrick Frazee on charges of first-degree murder of Kelsey Barrett. As a reminder, Patrick Frazee is presumed innocent until proven guilty.
Patrick, what do you have to say?
Despite the murder charge, Kelsey's body had not been found.
As you can tell from the arrest, sadly, we do not believe Kelsey is still alive. Kelsey's daughter, Kaylee, is in protective custody and will be reunited with Kelsey's family.
Patrick Frazee entered a plea of not guilty, but from the beginning, investigators had questions about Patrick's story, starting with his initial claim that the day before Thanksgiving, Kelsey told him she wanted to break up and, quote, go their separate ways.
So this is Woodland Park?
This is Woodland Park.
Yet, there she was, shopping the next day for the family dinner.
You see her grab a cart and put Kaylee in the cart and then go off, and that's last time publicly anyone had seen Kelsey Barrett.
What does she buy here at Safeway?
She buys ingredients for a sweet potato casserole.
Investigators wondered if Kelsey had broken up with Patrick, why would she send him this text? I bought some sweet potatoes in case you wanted sweet potato casserole. Kelsey didn't tell her mother she and Patrick were breaking up when she spoke with her Thanksgiving morning.
Did she sound normal? Did she sound... Definitely. She sounded happy and... Normal mom-daughter talk. Yeah.
Another big question investigators had was when Patrick said he last saw Kelsey.
Patrick told officers that he hadn't seen her since Thanksgiving, November 22nd, when he exchanged their daughter, Kaylee Barrett.
In images from a neighbor's security camera on that Thanksgiving day, Patrick and Kelsey are seen at her door with a baby carrier after Kelsey returned from the store. You can see her holding a poinsettia. Later, Patrick is seen at that same location alone.
We don't know whether he's coming or going. He doesn't have Kaylee, and he's not with Kelsey. And then that's it.
University of Colorado law professor Aya Gruber has followed the case.
The critical question is what happened in between around 1:30, 1:45, and 3:30 when they get that picture of him.
Police say this is likely when Patrick killed her.
Investigators have recovered a number of items that make us suspicious that the crime did occur at Kelsey's residence.
Patrick told authorities he drove their daughter Kaylee to his ranch for Thanksgiving dinner. He said Kelsey wasn't with them, but investigators discovered that her cell phone was.
They pulled cell phone records and found that on Thanksgiving Day, November 22nd, all of a sudden, Kelsey's phone and Patrick's phone started traveling together, but Patrick and Kelsey were not together.
Investigators say Patrick took Kelsey's cell phone after he killed her as part of a scheme to cover his tracks. They believe he faked 19 calls between the two phones over Thanksgiving weekend and was sending texts between them, including this one from Kelsey's phone. I'm going running. I'll call you guys when I get home. His response, okay, be safe.
The theory that the prosecution's going to put forward is that that was Patrick with her phone, and he's texting pretending to be Kelsey.
2 days after Thanksgiving, authorities believe Patrick concocted this conversation. Are you awake? Sorry, I didn't hear my phone. Going to jump in the shower. I'll call you guys when I get out. Okay. Then investigators believe to keep up his ruse that Kelsey wanted the breakup, Patrick sent this message. If this is truly what you want, I'll respect your wishes and give you space. On Sunday, 3 days after Thanksgiving, there was a bizarre development that would send this case in a very different direction. Phone records show while Patrick's cell stayed near his ranch, Kelsey's phone was on the move, heading west out of Colorado.
There was a text from Kelsey's phone to her supervisor at DOS Aviation saying, I won't be at work. So people had thought maybe they heard from Kelsey,
The next text from Kelsey's phone said, "Do you even love me?" That text pinged off a cell phone tower 800 miles away.
Reports are correct that Kelsey's phone gave a location near Gooding, Idaho on November 25th.
When that came out, I think everyone was just shocked.
And where's Kelsey?
And where's Kelsey? No one knows where Kelsey is.
So how did her phone end up in Idaho? This woman may have the answer. It was startling news when investigators revealed that 3 days after Kelsey Barrett was last seen, her cell phone had pinged in Gooding, Idaho, 800 miles from her home.
Tonight, we have new information about a 32-year-old Twin Falls woman that may have helped Patrick Frazee cover up the disappearance and alleged murder of his fiancée, Kelsey Barrett.
At the time of Kelsey's disappearance, phone records show that Patrick was in touch with this woman, Crystal Kenny Lee. Crystal was a nurse and avid horsewoman who grew up here.
This is Crystal's world.
KMVT news director and weekend cowboy, Cade Atwood.
We work hard to be able to do this on the weekends. Crystal and her family are a big part of the rodeo community, a very prominent family.
Talk horses, and you're speaking her love language, you know.
Michelle Stein is Crystal's best friend.
Horses are her life. She loves horses.
Take a look at this!
And in Idaho, where rodeo rules, Crystal was royalty. In 2008, she was crowned Queen of the Magic Valley Rodeo.
She was so loved.
Laura Stutzman has known Crystal since she was a teenager.
Crystal was so kind with everybody that it was just so difficult to turn her down in any way.
Crystal had a reputation of getting what she wanted?
No, I wouldn't say it was a reputation of getting what she wanted. Crystal worked so hard at everything she did to try to do everything completely correct.
Authorities believed that it was Crystal who traveled to Idaho with Kelsey's phone. But when the FBI made their initial call to Crystal, she said she had no idea who Kelsey Barrett was. She also denied knowing Patrick Frazee. Then she changed her story.
They asked her, when was the last time you talked to him? And she said, I don't know, I'd have to look at my phone. And then says, oh, in the last month. And investigators are thinking, okay, but we already know that your phone has called his phone multiple times in the last few weeks. She says, I don't have a personal relationship with Patrick Frazee. I've gone to Colorado and looked at a few of his horses, and that's the extent of our relationship.
She lies.
She lies.
Turns out, Crystal Lee and Patrick Frazee had a long history. They met after high school. Then, 8 months before Kelsey disappeared, Crystal and Patrick's relationship heated up. Crystal was recently divorced with 2 children.
She had been out here multiple times to see him, and it was a type of affair.
What did Crystal say about Patrick? Was she in love with him?
I think she was, to a point.
During the investigation, the FBI got a tip that Michelle had explosive information about the case. She says Crystal called and confided in her about a disturbing conversation she and Patrick had a month before Kelsey disappeared.
She was very, very upset, very distraught. She had told me that he had asked her to take care of his baby mama.
And you took that to mean, or she took that to mean?
So I was like, well, I was in shock at first because who says that? Nobody says that. So I was like, wait, what? And she said, yeah, he asked me if I would kill the mother of his baby.
I mean, what are you thinking at that point?
I was just in shock and disbelief.
What was Crystal's tone when she was telling you this?
She was bawling. She was crying. She was extremely upset and scared.
Michelle says she asked Crystal why Patrick wanted to kill Kelsey.
He had told her it was because she wanted to take him back to court to get custody of the baby. And he was in fear that she was going to harm the baby.
Investigators found no proof Kelsey had harmed her daughter, but did find evidence that Patrick had planned to challenge Kelsey for custody and believe that may have been his motive for murder. Michelle says she pushed Crystal to call the police.
I kept telling her, I think you need to call and tell somebody. See, you gotta understand, I'm trusting her to do the right thing.
But I think, Michelle, people watching will say, call the police. Say, you need to talk to my friend. Someone's asking her to kill someone.
You're right. Okay, of course the viewers are gonna think that.
But do you have regret?
Of course I regret it. I regret it every day. Oh my God, I would do anything to have stopped that somehow.
Kelsey had been gone about a month before Michelle talked to the FBI. And when the FBI went back at Crystal a second time, she too was ready to talk.
I think at that point she kind of knows I have to come clean.
But first, Crystal wanted a deal. In exchange for her testimony against Patrick, she agreed to plead guilty to evidence tampering. She admitted to getting rid of the gun, to tossing Kelsey's keys in a canyon, and destroying her phone.
It's a tampering with evidence charge, which is a minor charge compared to murder or, accessory to murder or attempted murder.
She only faces, at max, 3 years in prison.
This is a pretty good deal that she gets.
What Crystal revealed to investigators would become the center of the prosecution's case against Patrick Frazee.
When I first walked in, I saw blood all over the floor. I saw blood up the wall.
When Crystal Lee finally started talking, she didn't stop for 4.5 hours. Her story was stunning. She claimed Patrick tried to get her to kill Kelsey 3 different times.
The first idea was to get a caramel macchiato from Starbucks, Kelsey's favorite drink, and put poison in it.
2 months before Kelsey went missing, Crystal says she drove 12 hours from Idaho to this Starbucks near Kelsey's home in Colorado.
Hi, welcome to Starbucks. What can I get started for you today?
Crystal, a nurse, told investigators she suggested the perfect potion, a lethal dose of Ambien and Valium.
This is the drink.
That is the drink Crystal Lee had ordered to put poison in to give to Kelsey Barrett.
So Crystal brings this Starbucks caramel macchiato right here.
Waits in the alleyway, walks up to Kelsey's door, knocks on the door, and
Kelsey opens it?
Kelsey opens it, tells Kelsey this elaborate story. She says, I'm new to the neighborhood. Someone had told me that you had helped get my dogs out of trouble. And Kelsey says, no, I didn't do that.
Does Kelsey take the coffee?
Allegedly, Kelsey takes the coffee inside and closes the door. And from there, we don't know what Kelsey does with the coffee.
But Crystal says she couldn't do it. She didn't poison the coffee. And when Patrick found out, he was angry.
He was furious. He was not happy that she didn't go through with it.
He would play head games with her. A lot.
Crystal's best friend, Michelle Stein.
He just had a way of manipulating her into doing things.
After Crystal said she couldn't go through with the poison plan, she told investigators Patrick came up with a different idea.
He says, I have a metal pipe that I'll leave outside my property that you can come pick up. And I want you to go wait for Kelsey at her townhome. And when she comes, hit her on the back of the head.
The way Crystal tells it, she drove to Kelsey's house with that metal pipe, but didn't attack her and drove back to Idaho. A week later, she says Patrick called with a new murder plan. Once again, Crystal drove from Idaho to Kelsey's Colorado townhouse. Crystal claims she waited for Kelsey outside her home, this time with an aluminum baseball bat. But just like her earlier attempts, she says she chickened out.
It's just hard to believe these stories. They seem outlandish and wild.
Phone records show Patrick called Crystal in Idaho around 4:30 on Thanksgiving Day. Crystal said he told her, "You need to get out here now. You got a mess to clean up."
Crystal says that she can't come out that same day, but will come out a few days later. She's in Idaho, loads up the car with cleaning supplies, bleach, hair nets, gloves, trash bags.
She basically brought the equivalent of a hazmat suit and every sort of cleaning product that one might see in one of those TV shows about how to clean up a crime scene.
2 days later, on Saturday morning, Crystal says she drove 800 miles to Patrick's ranch to pick up a set of Kelsey's keys he left for her outside. Then she says she drove to Kelsey's home.
Crystal tells authorities she opens the door and the scene is horrific. There's blood everywhere.
According to Crystal, Kelsey's body was not inside.
And then spends, 3 to 4 hours cleaning and scrubbing the murder scene. She takes some of the things that she couldn't clean and puts them into trash bags and loads them in the back of the car she was driving.
Crystal claims Patrick was back at his ranch during the cleanup.
There was a point in time when Patrick Frazee had told Crystal Lee, when you go to clean up her townhome, there is possibly a tooth somewhere.
Crystal said she found that tooth and put it in a trash bag. Crystal told investigators after the cleanup she met with Patrick. She described to them how he said he lured Kelsey to her death. Crystal claims Patrick invited his fiancée to play a guessing game with candles.
She says that he takes a sweater from Kelsey's room and blindfolds her with the sweater and has candles sitting out in front of Kelsey and is telling Kelsey to guess the scent of each candle.
During her interview with investigators, Crystal said Patrick told her while baby Kaylee was in another room, he took a baseball bat and, quote, he went to swinging.
After killing Kelsey with that baseball bat on Thanksgiving Day, Crystal says Patrick told her he put her body in a black tote. This surveillance image shows Patrick at an ATM earlier that day with a black tote in his truck. Crystal went with investigators to Patrick's ranch. She told them that she and Patrick went there together, and she watched him burn that tote.
He poured gasoline in the bucket and pitched it into the fire.
I believe yesterday you said that you also collected wood and put into the burn pit?
Yes, I did.
Police later examined the spot where they believe Kelsey's body was burned. Crystal also went with investigators to Kelsey's home. She's wearing that police jacket and hat. The floorboards had been removed for testing.
And can you point, if you remember, where the tooth was? Around the tooth, what was there, if anything?
Blood.
All right.
There was blood on the chairs. There was blood on this chair. There was blood on the table. There was blood on the Hobby Lobby bag that was sitting there.
She pointed out where she claims she intentionally left blood for them to find.
Right there.
On December 21st, 2018, Patrick was arrested at his ranch and charged with Kelsey's murder.
This is a case without a body. This is a case without a lot of physical evidence. So what we mainly have connecting Patrick Frazee to an incredibly brutal and violent crime is Crystal Lee's testimony.
Crystal, who had cut that deal with prosecutors, seemed shaken when she appeared in court after she turned herself in to authorities.
The Crystal I knew could do no wrong, but the Crystal that has done the things that came out of her mouth is somebody I don't know.
And that leaves Laura Stutzman with one question: why? Almost a year after Kelsey Barrett's disappearance, there was a long line to get a seat in the courtroom at Patrick Frazie's murder trial.
I think a lot of people that knew Patrick, they don't think that the candle story adds up.
Frazie's friend, Clint Klein, was there almost every day.
I don't know of any guys that would have thought of going out and buying candles and having their girlfriend be blindfolded and then smell the candles.
You think that had to be a woman's idea?
I think so.
Frazie was driven from the jail in a black SUV. He entered the courthouse through this white tent, out of sight from the media. Security was tight. No cameras in the courtroom. District Attorney Dan May.
I got to tell you, it's one of the most emotional trials I've ever been through, and I've been through a lot of trials in my career.
Prosecutor Beth Reed painted a picture of Patrick Frazie.
Very charming, very manipulative, and controlling, all traits consistent with being a sociopath.
Ashley Franco summed up the defense case. No body, no murder weapon, and no clear motive.
They had said, Patrick wasn't involved. There's no evidence to show he was involved. And Crystal Lee had already lied to law enforcement, so she's the one to blame for this.
On day 4, the prosecution's star witness, Crystal Lee, took the stand. Her credibility was on the line.
I don't think we would have known what happened to Kelsey without Crystal Lee.
I started picking up things that were blood splattered.
For 2 days, prosecutor Jennifer Veman asked Lee to describe Frazie's plan to kill Kelsey Barrett. They bolstered their case with surveillance videos and photos. This one shows the black tote in the back of Frazie's truck that Lee says he would use to dispose of her body.
When you came in, what did you see?
Blood all over the floor. I saw blood up the wall. Saw blood on this wall.
Most disturbing, prosecutors played that video of Lee inside Kelsey's home, showing investigators how she cleaned up the crime scene.
Did you say, correct me if I'm wrong, did you say that you cleaned off some of the appliances?
I did. I wiped there was blood on the front of the dishwasher. There was blood on the front of the stove. There was that cinnamon roll pan had blood on the tinfoil.
They had pulled up the floorboards where they found Kelsey's blood. They showed video of a hay barn where Lee says Frazie hid Kelsey's body in that tote overnight. A cadaver dog alerted to the area. This is a surveillance image of Frazie at a gas station. Lee says he was buying gas to start a fire.
We brought the tote here.
Okay.
We unloaded the tote.
Okay.
Kelsey's body was moved to Frazie's ranch.
Were you present when he started the fire?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
This is the video that shows how Lee says she helped Frazie burn Kelsey's body in that black tote.
What about the accelerant?
Gas.
Okay.
And burned evidence, including Kaylee's toys and Kelsey's blood-stained Bible.
Do you remember what the books were by just...
One of them was her, I would imagine it was a Bible.
Experts say a human female tooth fragment was recovered from Frazie's ranch near the burn site, but there wasn't enough DNA to determine a profile. At the end of her testimony, she told the jury Kelsey's chilling last words, "Please stop." But he didn't.
He keeps beating her and beating her and beating her. The jury needed to hear that. They needed to hear how brutal this was, how uncaring he was, how senseless this was.
Why would Lee help Frazie? She claimed she feared for herself and her children.
She was in love with Patrick Frazie and had been for a long time. As the trial went on and we saw that dark side of Patrick Frazee that Crystal saw, that Kelsey saw. I think you can understand some of that fear. I don't know that we'll ever understand entirely why she did what she did. It's fairly inexplicable.
Perhaps the most shocking testimony came from a surprise prosecution witness.
Your last witness, I think jaws dropped when he started testifying. Tell me about him.
We didn't know about him.
Prosecutor Beth Reed says the surprise witness was an inmate at the same jail where Patrick Frazee was being held.
He actually had started calling our office while we were in the middle of trial.
The former inmate had watched a 48 Hours episode on Kelsey Barrett's murder. Turns out, he says, Frazee gave him a hit list. Some of the names handwritten on paper towels he was instructed to flush.
Describe to me what was in the 16 notes passed between Patrick and the former inmate.
Well, they were requests that a certain number of witnesses needed to disappear. But it was very specific as to Crystal Lee, graphic descriptions of what needed to happen to Crystal Lee. He described putting a bullet in her head.
Also on Frazee's hit list, Crystal Lee's best friend, Michelle Stein, and Kelsey's mother, Cheryl Barrett.
What does that say about Patrick Frazee?
It says that Patrick will do whatever he wants to get whatever he wants.
The defense called no witnesses. Frazee chose not to testify. The case went to the jury. After 3.5 hours of deliberations, a verdict.
A verdict is in this 11 breaking news alert. The jury says they unanimously found Patrick Frazee guilty of first-degree murder.
Frazee was found guilty of first-degree murder, sentenced to life in prison plus 156 years. Do you think if Patrick hadn't involved Crystal, he would have gotten away with Kelsey's murder?
Yes, I do. I think it's very possible he would have gotten away with that. Involving Crystal was a stupid plan. The whole plan was stupid. But he wanted Crystal Lee to pin it on.
As for Crystal Lee, she's facing a maximum of up to 3 years in prison. I think a lot of our viewers are probably thinking, Crystal Lee, given what she's admitted to, got a really good deal.
She did. And it's not right, and I'm not going to try to justify it in any way. It's unfortunately a part of my profession that sometimes in order to solve a case, we have to give a deal to the devil. That's exactly what we did here.
If you could sentence Crystal Lee, what would it be?
A heck of a lot more time than 3 years. She could have saved Kelsey so many times over so many months, and it's totally inexcusable.
Is this justice for Kelsey and Kaylee? Can there ever be justice?
Justice in this case? Kelsey'd be sitting here talking to you, not us. Excuse me. So we can certainly seek a certain amount of justice, but not the justice that this case deserves.
Thank you, everyone. Please have a seat. If you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant caused the death of Lynn Hernan with the intent to kill, you should find the defendant guilty of first-degree intentional homicide. If you are not so satisfied, you must find the defendant not guilty.
Lynn Hernan's not here to tell you what went on.
We were dispatched to a suicide. A female had located her friend deceased in a residence.
It was immediately obvious that the decedent was there in a recliner. She has multiple medication bottles that are within arm's reach. She has multiple medications that are kind of scattered on her carpet, and this appears to be an unknown powdery substance left behind on a plate.
I received a witness statement from Jesse. From what I knew, Jesse was the caretaker of the individual.
Jesse Krzyzewski took care of Lynn during the last year of Lynn's life. Jesse was like an adopted daughter to Lynn, so Jesse and Lynn were very close.
Lynn was really sick and depressed.
Lynn started suffering from health issues that were unexplained. She was going in and out of the hospital, but doctors couldn't figure out what it was that was ailing Lynn.
She was going to like doctor after doctor, and then she'd call me and say they can't find anything wrong with me.
The defense argued that Lynn wanted to die by suicide because she was sick of being sick.
I remember hearing it from Jesse on the phone. Looks like Lynn, committed suicide.
When you heard your Auntie Lenny died by suicide, did you believe that?
I wasn't really sure at the time what to believe because, I just couldn't see her, ending her own life.
She wants to die. She doesn't like life.
The speculation at the time on law enforcement's behalf was that this was clearly a suicide.
You received information from the medical examiner. Did that cause the sheriff's office to change their investigation?
Yes.
There was a substance that was unusual.
The medical examiner found tetrahydrozoline in Lynn Hernan's system. It's the active ingredient in eye drops that, when ingested, can be fatal.
My opinion is that Lynn Hernan died of tetrahydrozoline poisoning.
What about the manner of death in this case?
It's homicide.
What killed her is the eye drops.
Are you serious? Do you guys think I murdered her?
Did you?
I swear to God I didn't.
In June of 2021, Jesse Krzyzewski was charged with first-degree intentional homicide. The state argued that Lynn Hernan was worth more dead than alive to Jesse Krzyzewski.
You're going to see that the access Ms. Krzyzewski had to Lynn Hernan allowed her to steal every dollar almost that Lynn Hernan was worth in life.
Lynn gave Jesse money all the time because she wanted to. She wanted Jesse to have it.
And this is not a suicide. This was intentional homicide.
Lynn loved Jesse. If Lynn Hernan was here today, she would say, "Are you crazy?" Prosecution. Jesse's innocent.
This case must be decided by you, the jurors, based on the evidence presented in the courtroom. You, jurors, are the judges of the credibility of the witnesses and the weight of the evidence.
In October of 2023, in the courtroom of Judge Jennifer Doro, 39-year-old Jesse Krzyzewski went on trial for the intentional homicide of 62-year-old Lynn Hernan, along with 2 counts of felony theft for stealing from Lynn, someone who'd always thought of Jesse as a beloved friend. 5 years earlier, Jessie called police and told them she found Lynn dead, sitting in her recliner in the living room of her Pewaukee, Wisconsin condo. Jessie had been taking care of Lynn, who had serious medical problems.
The lawyers will now make their opening statements.
Good afternoon, everyone.
The prosecutors for Waukesha County are Deputy District Attorney Abby Nikolai and Assistant District Attorneys J.J. Crawford and Randy Sitzberger.
So this is Wisconsin versus Jesse Krzyzewski. Said otherwise, this is a case of murder, greed, and lies. You're going to see that in or about October 3rd, 2018, Lynn Hernon became worth more dead than alive to Jesse Krzyzewski.
Prosecutors told the jury that this case was about someone who wanted money.
Stephanie Rodriguez covered the trial for the CBS affiliate in Milwaukee.
And prosecutors said that that's why she was caring for her, not because she genuinely cared, but that Jesse wanted the money in her bank account.
Between January of 16 and October 3rd of 2018, Ms. Krzyzewski was able to steal $144,000 plus from Lynn Hernon while she was still alive.
And then she wanted Lynn dead to get the money from her estate.
Lynn Hernon was dead at only 62 years old from a tetrahydrozoline poisoning after the defendant gave her a bottle laced with Visine eye drops to drink.
But the defense presented Jesse as a close friend who took care of Lynn, who they claimed was depressed about her declining health.
This case is extremely important to Jesse. Presumed innocent. And don't ever let that thought leave your mind, that she's presumed innocent.
At trial, Jesse was represented by defense attorneys Pablo Galaviz and Donna Kugler.
Here's a picture of Lynn and Jesse, a graduation party that Lynn threw for Jesse, high school.
At the mention of her close relationship with Lynn,
this is my daughter, she's so proud.
Jesse immediately teared up.
That's who Jesse is to Lynn, her daughter.
Jesse had known Lynn since childhood through her mother, Jennifer Flower.
Jennifer's like her best friend, and Jesse became her best friend.
Lynn, who worked most of her life as a hairdresser, never married and lived alone. Then, in the 2 years before her death, her health rapidly declined.
There were times where Lynn would fall in her home and Jesse would have to go and help her get up.
Lynn also had lung disease, high blood pressure, and severe gastrointestinal issues, which doctors were never able to fully diagnose. She had been in and out of the hospital several times in the year before she died.
Jesse was always with Lynn because she became her full-time caretaker, essentially. Jesse would do the grocery shopping for Lynn. Jesse paid Lynn's bills.
Jesse was the only person she trusted.
The defense told the jury that as Lynn's health further deteriorated, she became despondent.
And you saw the way she was done up with the hair and nails and jewelry. She didn't look like that anymore. She didn't want any more visitors because she didn't look, in her mind, the same.
The defense argued that on October 3rd of 2018, Lynn was tired of being sick and decided to take her own life.
When they arrived on the scene, this is what they found at the scene. They found a lot of empty prescription bottles. And they can't see that as a suicide. She's innocent. Find her not guilty.
One of the first orders of business for prosecutors,
The state would next call Tabitha Kukis,
was to establish the cause of death. Former Waukesha County Deputy Medical Examiner Tabitha Kukis talked to jurors about those pictures she took when she arrived at Lynn's condo.
This is a close-up of the medication bottles that were directly to her left. There's additional medications that are present, some without their caps on.
Kukis had photographed multiple medications scattered on the carpet, as well as a white powder on a plate and on Hernon's chest. Defense attorney Kugler suggests the powder was spilled by Lynn herself.
Jesse told you it was common for Lynn to crush medications because of her problem swallowing.
That's what she told me.
Jurors heard from Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Linda Biedritsky, who testified about those photos taken in Lynn's living room. She said the pills and powder scattered at the scene did point to a potential suicide.
There was a thought that maybe there was an ingestion was a possibility for the cause of death.
But before pronouncing the cause of death, Dr. Biedrzycki waited to see the results from the toxicology tests. When she received them weeks later, she was in for a surprise.
There was a substance that I was an unusual finding that I hadn't seen in a report from their facility before. It was called tetrahydrozoline.
Dr. Biedrzycki began her own research on tetrahydrozoline, a drug found in some over-the-counter eye drops.
This is a substance that I haven't seen in a toxicology report before. It's not supposed to be in the blood.
But how did it get there?
Dr. Biedrzycki, were you involved in the cause of death and manner determination for Lynn Hernan?
Yes.
Medical examiner Dr. Linda Biedrzycki told the jury it was in late September 2019, almost a year after Lynn Hernan's death, that she published her official conclusion about how Lynn died.
The cause of death I determined was tetrahydrozoline poisoning.
And Dr. Biedrzycki ruled that Lynn did not deliberately drink a fatal dose of eye drops.
How this injury occurred is that she was given tetrahydrozoline by another, which is why I called it a homicide.
The belief that Lynn Hernan was given tetrahydrozoline by another shows that she was given this unsuspectingly. She didn't know that she was ingesting tetrahydrozoline when she did it.
The defense challenged the medical examiner's findings.
These are all the drugs that were found in Ms. Hernan, right?
Correct.
Toxicology reports showed that Lynn had at least 8 prescription drugs in her system, some of which Lynn was not supposed to be taking at the time because those medications had been discontinued by Lynn's doctors.
And these were all in her blood, which means they've already been ingested and made it into the bloodstream.
True.
Dr. Biedrzycki said that in her determination, those medications, along with some of Lynn's medical conditions, contributed to, but did not cause Lynn's death.
The medications found in Lynn's body were all at therapeutic levels.
Your conclusion was that she died from the tetrahydrozoline, right?
Yes.
But the defense asked, how could the medical examiner be so certain Lynn did not ingest the eye drops on her own?
You don't know, as you sit there today, whether she voluntarily ingested that.
It was my opinion she didn't, but knowledge of her action, no.
Well, you weren't there.
I wasn't there.
On redirect, Deputy DA Nikolai asked about the powder found on and near Lynn's body.
What do you think happened?
I think that they may have been deposited there.
The medical examiner believed that Lynn Hernan's body was staged to look like an overdose because toxicology reports showed that none of the crushed up medication that was found on Lynn Hernan and next to her was actually in her system.
The following day,
State may call your next witness.
the jury heard from some of Lynn's friends.
Did you know Lynn Hernan?
Yes, I did.
Jim Kelleher met Lynn at a music festival in 1983 when she was 27.
What was your first impression?
That lady that looked that good wouldn't go out with me.
But Lynn said yes, and their romantic relationship lasted 10 years. Even after it ended, they remained close friends.
Lynn was a beautiful lady. Inside and out, she was beautiful.
Jim says he never met Jessie until right after Lynn died.
I get a phone call from Jessie, and she says, I have some bad news. Lynn committed suicide. And by the way, we're going to have a dinner for her on the 13th at the Open Flame restaurant.
She said in one sentence,
Correct.
Your dear friend died by suicide.
Right.
The next sentence, she tells you there's going to be a dinner in her memory.
Right.
What did you make of that?
Well, I kind of didn't believe her right off the bat. She wasn't crying.
On the stand, Jim said he didn't believe Lynn would have taken her own life.
Did you ever hear Lynn say anything to you about thinking of killing herself?
No, I did not. She never gave me the indication of suicidal. Never.
He said that despite her growing frustration with her health problems, Lynn would still visit him and his girlfriend at their home.
So she'd bring treats and stuff. She would say she does stomach aches or whatever, and she would always leave.
But the defense questioned whether Jim really knew much about Lynn's health struggles. In the last year of Lynn's life, she'd been in and out of the hospital, discharged the final time just 5 days before her death.
Did you offer to go over there and take care of our cat when she was in the hospital?
No, I did not.
You didn't go visit her when she...
No, I did not.
Prosecutors also called Corrine Poza.
We were best friends for about 35 plus years.
And Corrine's son, Anthony, who says he always had a special bond with Lynn since childhood.
What did you call Lynn?
Auntie Lenny.
Anthony says he stayed close to Lynn, regularly dropping by her condo while he attended college nearby.
I loved doing stuff with her, thrift store shopping. That was a date we would go on, is go thrift store shopping.
Do you recall when the last conversation you had with Lynn was?
The last time I saw Lynn was a month before she passed away.
Anthony testified that despite her medical troubles, Lynn appeared to be improving.
She said she was starting to feel better, and she's like, I'm fine, I'm glad I'm getting out again, and we need to do this more often.
Prosecutors asked Waukesha County Sheriff's Detective Chris Cole about his investigation into Lynn's death.
Did you speak with Ms. Krzyzewski in regard to this death investigation?
Yes. She contacted our office looking for an update.
Prosecutors introduced video of that meeting with Detective Cole. He testified that 5 months after Lynn died, before the medical examiner had ruled on the cause of death, Jessie came to the sheriff's department with her mother, Jennifer Flower, asking questions.
When I talked to the medical examiner last, I talked to them numerous times, and they said I had to contact you guys. They kind of weren't sure. We didn't know if it was a suicide or if it was something medical.
So at this point, they're waiting for their secondary, the confirming test.
Yeah. During that interview, Detective Cole found out more about Jessie's relationship with Lynn.
Okay. So she was like an aunt, a second mom to me. She didn't have kids.
You've known her your whole life. Yeah. And that's why you were helping her out.
Yeah.
Jessie said she was just about the only person still in Lynn's life before she died.
She pretty much flew everybody off the hospital at the end. She said, no, I don't want to see anybody.
According to Jessie and her mother, Lynn was so withdrawn she did not want to talk to her friend Jim when he called.
She said, do not tell him I don't want him here. I don't want to see him. She didn't like the way she looked, so she didn't want people around.
But that's not how Jim remembers what happened when he and his girlfriend called Lynn's number.
Well, this girl answered the phone, and she was kind of mouthing off to us. Don't use this phone. Don't call this number ever again. Don't worry about Lynn.
And you're thinking what?
I'm going to find out from Lynn what's going on.
A few days later, Jim says Lynn called him from the hospital, and they agreed to make plans to get together when she went home.
And that's the last time that I heard Lynn's voice.
As they tried to make sense of her death, Lynn's friends say they recalled Lynn talking about something else that was troubling her, something that had nothing to do with her health.
She would talk about her money. It's disappearing.
She just said, I don't know what's happening to my money.
Did Ms. Krzyzewski tell you who would be in charge of handling Lynn's estate?
Yeah, she said she was appointed power of attorney.
Okay.
As the prosecution turned to the charges that Jessie stole money from Lynn, they asked Anthony Poza about his communications with Jessie and the months after Lynn's death.
I would just check up with Jessie every once in a while via text and ask her if she needed any help.
Lynn left a will she had drawn up in 2016, which named Jessie as personal representative, Wisconsin's equivalent of an executor. Jesse and Anthony were co-beneficiaries. When Jesse sent Anthony some paperwork of accounts she was settling,
I just remember getting a final account with just a bunch of credit card bills.
he was surprised at the amount of money Lynn appeared to owe.
And it was just weird how she had all these debts that just didn't make any sense to me.
Lynn's friends remembered her as living paycheck to paycheck until 2014, when she inherited $250,000 after her mother died. Now, after Lynn's death, Jesse reported to Anthony that most of Lynn's assets had been eaten away by debt.
I just felt like something was up and I wanted it looked at more closely.
The jury next heard from someone who was looking more closely.
You went through all these financial accounts sort of line by line, is that correct?
Yes.
Detective Nathan Plennis testified about the investigation into Lynn's finances. Prosecutors alleged Jesse stole more than $200,000 from Lynn before and after she died. And in the course of their investigation, detectives discovered a bombshell. Jesse Krzyzewski had a criminal record. Back in 2011, Jesse was convicted on charges of identity theft and forgery and sentenced to 8 years. Jesse had been released from prison early in 2016 on extended supervision, which coincided with the time Lynn's health began to decline.
Can you just scroll down to page 3?
Plennis told jurors what he learned about Lynn Hernan's bank accounts. He testified that Lynn's money market account, which had around $250,000 in 2016, was down to only $87 just after she died. A fraction of the total was spent by Lynn on a Jeep and some jewelry. Almost everything else, including a total of 20 checks,
$9,135.62,
went to Jesse Krzyzewski.
2 checks, March 13th, $7,330.80, $9,416.
Jesse was accused of stealing from Lynn because she was getting 20 checks out of Lynn Hernan's account with varying things in the memo notes like IRS payment, car payment.
Stephanie Rodriguez covered the trial for the CBS affiliate in Milwaukee.
But none of the money was going to the places where Lynn supposedly intended for them to go.
Plennis described to the jury how he matched each of those checks to deposits in Jesse's accounts and then tracked where Jesse spent that money. There was a big spike in spending while Lynn was in the hospital 2 weeks before she died.
During her last hospital stay, money was being transferred from Lynn's account into Jesse's account, and then Jesse was withdrawing that money from ATMs at a local casino.
Plennis also testified that on the day that Lynn died, a JCPenney credit card was opened in Lynn's name. Just days later, a $3,000 purchase of furniture made on another credit card in Lynn's name was delivered to the home Jesse shared with Scott Craig.
Mr. Craig, how is it you know Ms. Krzyzewski?
We were boyfriend and girlfriend for 3.5 years.
What was it that happened in the summer of 2019 that caused that end to the relationship?
When Waukesha Sheriff's Department came to my house and took her away.
Jesse was arrested for potentially violating the terms of her supervised release on those identity theft and fraud charges.
This is the initial interview that was conducted with Ms. Krzyzewski once the warrants were conducted on July 9th.
Detective Aaron Hoppy, the lead investigator in the case, and Detective Chris Cole interviewed Jesse. Hoppy watched portions of that interview along with the jurors.
Typically, would you go there in the morning or the night? Or
I didn't have a set. It just depended how she was doing the day before.
Following up on their suspicions that Jesse had been stealing from Lynn, Detective Chris Cole gave her a chance to explain. She claimed Lynn had been paying her for helping at home.
Did you have like an official arrangement that I makes $20 an hour?
No, there was nothing. No, nothing like that. I mean, there was no, one day, oh, here's the check. One day, here's my card. Go get this. One day, it was no set.
No set amount?
No. I mean, she'd help out, or she'd help my mom, oh, this month I'm going to pay rent, or I'm going to pay your car.
Jurors watched as Detective Cole, for the first time, shared Lynn's autopsy results with Jesse.
There's an anomaly in her toxicology. There's a drug in her system that's not supposed to be there.
And what would that be?
It's called tetrahydrazine.
What is that?
Commonly known as eye drops.
She uses eye drops all the time.
What does she use them for?
She uses them for her eyes. She put them in her eyes all the time.
What killed her is the eye drops.
Are you serious?
In the interview, Detective Cole told Jesse that the medical examiner thought someone gave the eye drops to Lynn orally in an attempt to kill her.
Do you guys think I murdered her?
Did you?
I swear to God I didn't.
You seem to have the most to gain on this.
I have no reason to murder her. I didn't give her anything. I didn't give her this eye drop or whatever it's called.
But detectives say Jesse knew all about tetrahydrozoline. She told her boyfriend Scott in text messages someone had put it in her drink when she was at a bar about 3 months after Lynn's death. Detective Hoppy read the texts in court.
Jesse to Scott. Scott, I don't feel good.
Scott told detectives that Jesse said she went to the hospital.
They said my blood pressure is really bad. I have traces of tetrahydrozoline in my blood. The doctor said that's the main ingredient in eye drops. He said that people put it in people's drinks all the time. He said there's no taste to it and people don't notice.
Jesse also tells Scott in those text messages that people can die from tetrahydrozoline poisoning.
Detective Hoppy, I think you testified you spoke again with Ms. Krzyzewski.
That's right.
On day 9 of the trial, the jury watched video of another interview between Jesse and detectives. This one took place the day after she was arrested on that parole hold. She had asked to speak to detectives again.
I was up all night long trying to think of everything and anything. I was thinking of the Visines.
After spending her first night in jail, Jesse's clothing had changed, and so had her story. Right after her arrest, Jesse had told detectives that Lynn used eye drops for dry eyes. Now, Jesse told Detective Hoppy that Lynn had another use for it.
She was drinking vodka and Visine.
During the second day of interviews with detectives, the jury heard Jesse tell them that Lynn did drink Visine.
How do you know she had mixed Visine with her vodka?
Because that's what she did. She's done it about 3 times.
Why didn't you tell us that yesterday?
Because I didn't want to tell you guys, because you guys are making it sound like it happened the day of, and that's not when she was doing that.
But Jesse says she never gave Lynn Hernan any Visine.
You never put the vodka in her Visine in her vodka. So she put Visine in her vodka.
Then Jesse went further.
Jesse goes into detail about how Lynn wanted to die by suicide, that Lynn was using the eye drops to help her die by suicide.
She was looking for her way out.
Jesse vehemently denied helping Lynn die.
I never mixed it. I swear to God, I bought it for her, and I knew she was mixing it. She put it in her water once in a while and in her vodka once in a while.
The following day, Jesse asked to speak with the detectives yet again, the third time in 3 days. The jury watched as Jesse had a new revelation for the investigators.
Jesse tells detectives that Lynn would get a buzz off of drinking Visine.
She said she lost, feeling of her body. It made her feel good. And honestly, she was doing it for so long that I didn't think she was going to die from it. I really didn't. I thought, okay, she's getting some sleep from it, that's it. She was doing it for 2 months at least.
Doing what?
The Visine.
And Jesse now said that Lynn actually did drink Visine the day she died. Jesse claimed that when she visited Lynn that morning, Jesse knew that Lynn had poured 6 bottles of Visine into her own water bottle.
That bottle of water right there had in 6 Visines. I didn't put it in there. I gave her the bottle of water.
Which is the one you know has 6 bottles of Visine in it. Because she told you. And you give it to her.
Well, we argued about it.
Jesse said she spent 10 minutes trying to stop Lynn.
She said, no, I want that bottle of water. It'll put me to sleep.
And then you gave in.
Yep. It's her choice and what she wanted.
And then you left.
Yep.
Hours later, detectives alleged Jesse opened that JCPenney card in Lynn's name and went grocery shopping.
I didn't do it to her, though. I did.
Jesse?
It would be 23 months later that Jesse Krzyzewski was charged with Lynn's death.
Does the state have any other witnesses to call?
No, the state rests.
When it was the defense's turn, Jesse's attorneys focused almost solely on their claim that Lynn died by suicide by drinking Visine.
We would call Gary Verdon.
Verdon, a friend of Jesse's mother,
Call her Jenny or Jennifer.
I call her Jenny.
said he'd been in Lynn's condo twice, the second time about a year before her death. Yet his memory of the visit was clear.
I saw him always sitting in his chair with a table next to her. She had a white Slurpee cup, with a straw coming out of it. She had a bottle of vodka next to it. She had an ashtray, her cigarettes, and a bottle of Visine.
You sure it's Visine?
Yes.
Verdon testified that on another occasion, he heard Lynn on speakerphone when he visited Jesse's mother, Jennifer.
Well, Lynn just started rambling off, and she was either sleepy or tired or whatever. And she was rattling off about the will. Then she started talking about how she wanted to kill herself.
Defense calls Sarah Trump.
Sarah Trump is a nurse practitioner who began treating Lynn for back pain in 2017. Despite prescribing several pain medications for her, Trump said Lynn did not improve.
In 2018, January, she continues to complain about her back pain.
Yes.
The pain being worsening, correct?
Yes.
Forensic pathologist Dr. Lindsay Thomas was hired by the defense.
I would say her past medical history was very significant. She had a very long list of medical conditions and also had quite a few psychiatric disorders: depression, anxiety, agoraphobia, which is fear of public places, chronic insomnia. Those were the ones that were listed in her medical records.
Dr. Thomas testified she agreed with the state's conclusion that Lynn's medical problems contributed to her death. She did not agree with the state's finding that Lynn died from tetrahydrozoline poisoning.
The forensic pathologist that the defense brought up said that Lynn's cause of death was undetermined, but she believed it was mixed drug toxicity. And so that means she thought that it was a combination of all of the drugs found in Lynn's system.
Would you say that there is strong evidence here that Lynn Hernan's death was a suicide?
I would say there's strong evidence that certainly could have been a suicide, yes.
As the defense concluded, Judge Jennifer Duro asked Jesse if she'd be taking the stand.
What is that decision?
It was very hard for me to decide, but ultimately I will not be testifying.
Madam Reporter, you're...
In her closing argument,
Ms. Krzyzewski's intent is clear. It was to kill.
Deputy District Attorney Abby Nikolai said Jesse had just one motive: money.
And the motive is her own personal benefit. This is someone who has profited over $144,000 before death and over $80,000 after.
In her closing,
The state has not proven a first-degree intentional homicide.
defense attorney Donna Kukler maintained that Lynn took her own life.
Jesse knew that Lynn would take Visine, drink it, but she doesn't know how she died that day. Looked like a suicide with pills from a person who was unhappy.
As for the allegations that Jesse stole from Lynn,
Lynn gave Jesse money all the time because she wanted to.
the defense contended that Lynn gave Jesse the money because Lynn knew she was going to end her own life.
She wanted Jesse to have it. She knows she's going out, and Lynn made a decision. She made a decision that she was going to exit. And she did that on October 3rd, once Jesse had left the home.
Attorney Nikolai, when you're ready.
In its rebuttal, the prosecution pushed back.
To believe that this was a suicide, You would have to believe that by the most cosmic intervention in the entire world, it happened at the exact point in time when Ms. Kershesky maximized the amount of money that she made on this whole ordeal.
The jury deliberated for 7 hours the first day, but did not reach a verdict.
Verdict watch for this case was tense. When the jury began to deliberate into a second day, there was some wonder.
That's when I got worried. I was wondering what, I'm like, what's the holdup?
Madam Foreperson, has the jury reached their verdicts?
Yes, Your Honor.
On November 14th of 2023, after 10 and a half hours of deliberation, Jessie Kershesky steadied herself as Judge Jennifer Doro read the jury's verdicts.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Jessie R. Kershesky, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide.
Jessie broke down as the judge continued.
Jessie was crying uncontrollably.
Kershesky was also convicted on the 2 counts of felony theft for stealing money from Lynn before and after she died.
I was just overcome with emotion. It also makes you reflect on the last 5 years with the lies and the deceit.
But before sentencing, the case took a bizarre turn when an envelope containing 37 pages of these handwritten letters and documents was received by a friend of Jessie's, who then turned it over to the sheriff's department.
The letter requests a friend of Jessie to fake evidence, create a voice recording, pretending to be Lynn Hernan, to send all of this to the judge in this case, to local media, even to the governor, to try to prove Jessie's innocence.
Prosecutors said the documents were written by Kershesky on the back of her trial notes, giving directions to her friend on how to impersonate Lynn and fabricate materials and submit them to the court. Kershesky allegedly asked her friend to, quote, make a voice tape pretending to be Lynn, writing, she has an older, raspy female voice. Kershesky allegedly directed her friend to say, quote, I cannot go on anymore. I chose to drink Visine and end my life. Jessie denied writing the documents, and the sheriff's department began an investigation into their origin. And the results of that investigation were revealed on April 5th, 2024, when Kershesky was back in Judge Doro's court for sentencing.
All right.
Prosecutors played video recorded in Kershesky's bunk room at the Waukesha County Jail, a few days before those documents were turned over to authorities.
So what I'm playing is jail video from Ms. Kershesky's pod.
They said it showed Kershesky putting papers into an envelope, leaving it on the bed of another inmate who later takes it to a mail drop-off. The prosecution said this proved Kershesky wrote those documents.
Ms. Kershesky, this is your opportunity to address the court. What, if anything, would you like to say?
Kershesky again denied she was the author of those documents. She spent almost 2 hours without a break proclaiming her innocence, insisting the only thing she was guilty of was being a loyal friend.
Let's be very clear here. There was no murder. I did not commit murder. I did not poison Lynn, give her pills, or anything else. It is a lot to be accused and convicted of murder when I didn't do it. You're holding me responsible for what she did.
Judge Doro said she believed Lynn's death was premeditated.
Tetrahydrozoline was not something we expected to find. And I do believe it was something you, Ms. Kershesky, banked on no one testing for. I have to ask out loud. It's a rhetorical question, but were you poisoning Lynn Hernan all along, following your release from prison?
No.
I'm not asking for an answer. This is my time. So do not interrupt me.
Kershesky was sentenced to life in prison on the intentional homicide charge, and 10 years for the 2 theft charges. The soonest she could be paroled would be after 40 years, when she would be nearly 80 years old.
Jesse poisoned Lynn like she was a rodent.
Lynn Hernan's friend, Jim Kelleher, had a few final words for Lynn's killer.
The devil awaits you. I hope you rot in hell. Lynn Hernan is an angel in heaven. May you rest in peace, Lynn. You're dearly missed and always will be. I'm so very sorry. God bless.
"48 hours to miss it would be a crime.
Were you at all prepared for what happened in this case?